So, I'd love to see, and I'll close with that. I really would like to see us, if possible, make a move with Aaron somewhere this year, and let's get Jordan in there, and let's start building for the future. All
right,
top notch.
Okay, no, appreciate it. Thanks so much, because we're coming up to the top of the hour, so I didn't mean to cut you off. Man, there's a lot to kind of nosh on there. The whole thing about moving on and getting into Aaron Rodgers, it is, or getting into Jordan Love. I don't know if it's just that easy if you still have Rodgers sitting there wanting to be a part of it. We'll talk about that. I mean, it is. I mean, who the hell am I? It is. It is pretty easy, actually, when you want to think about it. It's just whether or not Rodgers is committed. And I'm going to go back into that when we come back. Stay tuned. We got a lot more of the Bill Michaels Show coming up. We'll be back right after this.
This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
Making a sweep of Iowa as Wisconsin locked up a potent Hawkeyes offense to earn a 64-52 victory last night at the Kohl Center. Connor Essegian bounced back with a team-high 17 points. That was after he went 0 for 10 against Rutgers last Saturday. Here's more from the freshman.
It was just kind of good, just to kind of see one go in, like you said. But, I mean, at the same time, I've kind of always had that next shot in mentality. So, I mean, whether they're going in or not, I know the guys trust me, and, I trust the guys. So, it was just good to see one go in and just kind of get that back a little bit.
With just 17 days away from Selection Sunday, the Badgers sit 16-11 on the year, 8-9 in Big Ten play. Head coach Greg Gard says his group is resilient.
I mean, they haven't hung their heads. They haven't pouted. They've practiced pretty well. They've always bounced back and responded when they take one on the chin a little bit. So that's always a good sign as a coach, that they keep coming back and want to learn and want to get better.
Up next for Wisconsin, they'll travel to Michigan to face the Wolverines on Sunday. The Milwaukee Bucks, they return to action tomorrow. They bring a 12-game winning streak out of the All-Star break as they host the Miami Heat at the Pfizer Forum.
Are you a non-union construction tradesperson proud of what you do? Did you know you're worth so much more than what you're bringing home today? Put the power of LiUNA union labor to work for you. When you join LiUNA, you get the pay you deserve, plus pension and healthcare benefits above and beyond your compensation. That's zero deductions for pension and healthcare benefits with LiUNA, because you're worth it. Learn more at liunawisconsin.org/join.
It appears Jim Leonhard won't be coaching in college football or the NFL this fall, as the former Wisconsin defensive coordinator interviewed with the Philadelphia Eagles for their open DC spot, but the two sides mutually agreed that they would not move forward with the candidacy for the vacancy, as Leonhard intends to take the year off from coaching and undergo hip surgery. For the Wisconsin Sports Zone Network, I'm Ebo.
Welcome in, one and all. We are glad you're with us. And for those joining us on the Bud Light live stream, people are saying, well, I didn't pop up. If you missed the beginning of the show, there was a giant computerized meltdown via the platform we stream on. It's a platform called Restream. And I don't want to get too technical, but we go to Restream, and then Restream is our studio, and that sends it out to everything. It sends it out to YouTube. It sends it out to Facebook, sends it out to Twitch, sends it out to Twitter, and anything else that we're on. And it for whatever reason, melted everything down today. So normally I come in, I click two buttons, and we're on the air. And today everything was gone. So my apologies. I guess it'll serve me right for not checking things an hour before the program. But we've been sitting here getting it kind of up and running ever since. So my apologies for all of that. But it was just something that happened and didn't expect it. But Is what it is. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. If you want to find us, that's the way to go ahead and do it. Would love to hear from you. Again, 877-867-1670, and we'll continue to add new things and such to the stream as we can kind of rebuild it. But it looks like my weekend project is, you think you're going away for the weekend, you're going to relax, you're going to have some beverages, and instead it just, now it's become a lot of work. Everything we've built up over the last couple of years was wiped away. I mean, it's gone. So thank God we back it up in folders, but you got to rebuild everything all over again. So cry me a river, right? You're probably sitting there going, just shut up. Just stop. Big pain in the butt. I agree with you. I've got that. Tom says I had to sleep at a Motel 6 last night. Worst motel I've ever been in. It's funny, Tom. There was a Motel 6 that used to be up the street from my house. It was terrible. They ended up shutting it down. The police were there so many times. It was ridiculous. Then again, I've stayed in a couple of Motel 6s. I've always said, look, because it looks like it's very glamorous when we travel on the road, and sometimes it is. But if I just have a clean bed, a place I can shower, a TV I can relax in front of, and internet that I can use while I'm trying to work at night, I don't care. I don't care if I'm in a tent. As long as I'm warm, I'm comfortable, I'm clean, and I can sleep. That's it. That's it. But I completely get you. 877-867-1670. By the way, our buddy Chris drives a truck for a living, and apparently he had to go unload the semi and then get back on the road. He said, stay warm. Hello from Iowa. It's -5. And he had to go through with all that garbage we had yesterday with a unloaded trailer. So, boy, I wouldn't have wanted to be out and about in a semi yesterday in any of that crap. That's for sure. Ooh, Tom Baudet. We'll leave a light on for you. Remember that? Yeah, we'll leave the light on. One of those yellow bug lights gets shot out in the middle of the night.
All right. As someone who's spent many a night in a tent, Bill,
yes,
I will throw a challenge flag on that part of your comment.
You know what? Some tents are okay. Look, I've spent nights in the RV. Then again, the RV's.
But that's not a tent.
I know.
That's a freaking RV. That's nicer than a Motel 6. Come on now.
I know. I get it. I understand it.
That's like saying, yeah, I'd go sleep in a tent and then you go stay at a Four Seasons.
Yeah, you got me on that one because it's got a shower and a refrigerator and a microwave and everything. TVs.
Come on.
Everything.
Air conditioning.
A
Heat. Mattress.
Yeah.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
Toilet.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's in the. But as the rule goes, you know the rule in the RV, correct?
No, I've never been in an RV. I camp in tents.
The RV, in the one I go around in anyway, there is, as they say in the Spanish language, there is no dos. No dos.
So what? You just stop off at a nice rest stop?
Yes, you do. Yes, no dos. I'm telling you,
when you're
right
sleeping
now.
in a tent, you don't have that option. You're in the woods.
This is true. Then you better pray you don't wipe your hiney with poison ivy. Beyond that,
that's another story.
No dos. That is not something that you want to be, because the other side of it is, yes, you are glamorized. You are in the RV, but after a long night of tailgating and coming back from a Packers game and maybe taking some charity groups with you, and they all enjoy themselves and have some beverages and such, and they're all kind of sleeping by the time you get back and you drop them off at their car and they've sobered back up and they drive home. Somebody has to go empty that thing in the middle of the night. So at 2 a.m. or 3 a.m., you're sitting there at Wisconsin State Fair Park or wherever else it is that you go, and you've got the hose out and the gloves are on, and you're hitting that button that goes whoosh, and you don't mind the whoosh. It's the first one that you hit, and it goes whoosh.
I don't care.
You don't want to hear that sound. Just telling you. You don't want to hear that sound, man. There you go. James says, have you ever drank ayahuasca? I have not. I have felt like I have at times, I guess, but I have never. Thank you very much. There you go. 877-867-1670. By the way, we are back up. We are running on the Bud Light live stream, and we are glad to be back. Thank you very much. Here's the other thing, Ben, that on the stream, and this is something to think about for all of you, crazy people out there. On the stream, we have apparently everybody that was blocked on the stream. Now, if you were blocked on Facebook or blocked on YouTube or something, that's one thing. But everybody that was blocked on the stream is now back. So every raving lunatic and pain in the ass that we've watched on the stream over the last couple of years is now back. The door.
I'm anti-block, Bill.
I'm
the man of the people here.
The Pandora's box has now been reopened, and the hate can begin to be spewed yet again. And the quick finger of mine is on the button to block as it goes. But yeah, they're all back. So. Oh, what a joyous day. Hey, how about them Badgers last night, Ben? Huh?
Good win.
Good win last night.
It was late, that's for sure.
Yeah. Second half, man, they started pouring it on. Shots started to fall. It was good. I was excited. Were you giddy watching that game last night? I had it on here at the house, by the way.
It was pretty fun.
I had it on my computer, but I had it on here.
They finally got a double-digit lead going down the stretch.
Right.
Which they have not had in a year and a half. But it was good. They were getting open looks. They were hitting shots. Iowa kind of played the Wisconsin game because they had open shots everywhere. They just could not make anything.
Couldn't hit them.
So it was refreshing to see that happen to someone else. We did not get a big Fran McCaffrey freak out, which I'm quite sad about. But that's a win they needed to have if they want to make the tournament.
They get a 12-point win. Wall has a big night, 11 points, 14 boards, which was huge. Hit a couple of big buckets down the stretch, and they grinded it out over Iowa. I was impressed. I was impressed. They pulled away with a nice lead in the second half. They were up by one, I think, at the end of the first half, and then ended up grinding it out in the second half. So good win for them. I like that. Good win for them. Now they continue on 16-11 overall, 8-9 in the Big Ten. You get a couple more Big Ten wins. And again, you keep waiting for that springboard. You keep hoping for it. You only have 3 games in the Big. Can you believe there's only 3 games left? That's the most amazing thing. You got to go on the road to play Michigan. Then you got Purdue, who is now number 5 in the country. You got Purdue back at the Kohl Center, and that if you get the win over Michigan, is there a chance in hell of upsetting Purdue, Ben? Because if you get an upset over Purdue, going to next week, if you get an upset over Purdue, and then you can go on the road, you can close out with 3 straight wins, get 1 win in the Big Ten tournament. Do you find yourself now firmly entrenched on the bubble as far as being in the tournament, or do you find yourself playing in Dayton?
Is that where the tournament is? Is that the first 4?
That's always the first 4. They always play it in Dayton, Ohio.
Yeah, I think they'd be in at that point. And there's a chance they can upset Purdue. I mean, It's at home, which usually means everything. And that Purdue team lost to Northwestern just recently.
Yeah, Northwestern, boy, you see that when they beat them, that place went nuts, and rightfully so. But that place went nuts.
Yeah, all 12 of them.
Yeah, exactly. Well, no, I give them credit because they showed out for that. They turned out for that game. Now, I didn't see the upper deck, or if you want to call it an upper deck, I didn't see higher up than the first, say, 10 or 15 rows beyond the court. But when the buzzer sounded, man, and the threes were falling down the stretch, the place was just going nuts. I gave them credit because Northwestern is not known for being any kind of a big-time basketball program, but I give them credit. 877-867-1670. Hit us up. Again, 877-867-1670. I failed to mention at the beginning of the show, so I'll do it now. You can find us over on Twitter at Bill_Michaels. At Bill_Michaels. You can find Ben Kenny at Ben Z Kenny over on Twitter as well. Facebook.com/The Bill Michaels Show. Just simply Bill Michaels Show over on YouTube and on Twitch TV. And you can email the program, thebillmichaels@gmail.com. Everything's on the website. Former shows and all that kind of stuff. Podcasts and all of our platforms, Spotify, Apple, iTunes, Google Podcast. All of it's over on the website, thebillmichaels.com. That's thebillmichaels.com. And you can find us on the Google Podcasts and Apple Podcasts and Spotify Podcasts if you just want to listen to us, like I had mentioned. So plenty of ways to get a hold of the program. This one's from Jason. Jason says, you heard that Aaron Rodgers has emerged, but how is he feeling? Does anyone really know? Jason, no. I didn't even know. I woke up this morning to the discussion of Rodgers has come out of the darkness. That's literally like the headline, out of the darkness. Aaron Rodgers. How did we find out it was an Oregon facility?
The owner of the facility made it very clear that it was his facility. And I think there are only 3 of them.
Scott Berman is the guy's name. I wonder if Aaron gave him the go-ahead to say, don't say anything ahead of time, but after I get out of here, you can say what you want. Because now the world is talking to Scott Berman. He owns Sky Cave Retreats. And he said that Rodgers left the dark room facility yesterday. So there you go. Apparently, he went in on Monday. It's
only
Monday.
2 days, Bill.
So he was in on Monday, he was in on Tuesday, and came out on Wednesday. He was supposed to stay through today. So I wonder if he got scared of the dark. Just a thought. Started seeing hallucinations or something like that. Either that or DoorDash couldn't find him and he couldn't get food through the pellet door opening. I don't know. But by the way, Packers president Mark Murphy said earlier this month that no deadline for Rodgers to make a decision, but that he hoped for a resolution before the start of free agency, which I'm like, no, end of the month. There's no reason to go an extra week and push it up against business. Get it all done now. Say I'm ready now. Talk about it on Tuesday with McAfee. Say I'm ready now. Come back, be committed, get ready to go. Even if you're going to stay out on the beach and you're going to start running laps or working on your legs or whatever it is with your personal trainer, but get in sync with Matt LaFleur, get in sync with health and wellness and conditioning, get in sync, come back for OTAs, come back. And if the young guys are here in Green Bay, come back to Green Bay. Come back to Green Bay, start sitting down, working with them, go inside the huts. Anything you need to do, just start doing it. Do it right now. Be committed. For the $60 million you're getting paid, be committed. Here we go. Let's do this. And I just don't want to hear, I'm going to go contemplate the universe when I throw on my Maui gyms and sit on a kayak as I go through the sea kelp that's just outside of my patio door as I go commune with the pod of whales. I don't want to hear that crap. Just let's go. It's football, man. It's football. Let's do this. So I'll be ready to go. 877-867-1670. Hit us up. More of the Bill Michaels Show coming up next.
This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Everywhere you look, from groceries to utilities to gas, prices keep going up. Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin can dramatically help lower your energy costs year-round by replacing drafty windows and doors in as little as 6 weeks. And now you can save even more by taking advantage of 0% interest for up to 48 months when you lock in your prices by February 28th. I'm Gina Della from Pella. Bring the love of Wisconsin's outdoors in through the beauty and quality craftsmanship of Pella Windows and Doors. Whether you're updating or upgrading the look and comfort of your home, Pella has extensive lines of customizable options to meet your needs and your budget, no matter the season. Replacing drafty windows and doors can dramatically lower your energy costs. Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin offers some of the most energy efficient windows in the industry, designed to keep the cold outside where it belongs. Lock in your prices by February 28th and get 0% interest for up to 48 months. Visit PellaWI.com.
Restrictions apply.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Good to have you back. The Bill Michaels Show. We continue on. Hey, got to tell you, we know we got a lot of fish fries coming up around the area, and it's always great to get out to a couple of good ones. And one of the best down at Stenny's, second to National Walker's Point, and they have a new location coming to Lake Country. It's going to be postponed. It's going to come later in the year, kind of in the fall, getting ready for football season. But if you want a truly, truly, truly good fish fry, oof. Check out our friends at Stenny, second to National Walker's Point. Not to mention they run shuttles to everything. So they're going to run shuttles to Bucks games, Brewers games, Admirals games. They're going to run it. They run it to Packers games and even Badgers games. They run it to certain big shows in the downtown Milwaukee area. Summerfest, that is your shuttle destination. Go in, get yourself some good food, terrific beverages, and then shuttle. That way, it kind of let them do the driving. You don't have to worry about it. Great friends over there at Stenny, second National Walker's Point. And coming to Lake Country in the fall, right there on Watertown Road in Pewaukee, it's going to be Stenny's Lake Country. And I, for one, can't wait. 877-867-1670. You want to find us, please feel free. Go ahead and do so. So we got all kinds of stuff. This is... What do we have here? Is Gary still on in Fitchburg, Ben, by the way? Or is he gone?
No.
Okay, he dropped off. So the girl Blue did the dark retreat, Ben?
Yeah, I sent you the link to all the testimonials.
Okay.
And I guess I could tweet them out, but
yeah,
I don't want to play them on air because I don't want to lose all of our listeners.
Right.
Though some digging has found that, yes, Blue of Earth indeed was a spokesperson for said retreat.
Apparently he followed her down that primrose path.
Don't you think Rodgers is somehow monetarily involved with this company? Because ever since he's done it, like their owner has done interviews with everybody in the world. And they said their wait back like 2.5 years, 2-year-long wait list.
Right.
Just saying.
Boy, I just okay. Is there audio of Blue doing this retreat or coming out of the darkness of this retreat?
Yeah, I'll grab it. Give me a minute.
Yeah, if you can get it, because I got to assume, okay. And look, I don't mean to. Well, I'm lying. Yes, I do mean to make fun, because it's just. I get it. It is a different. It's you and I don't do this. You know, you, I, the listeners, we don't do this. This is not something you and I do. We wake up in the morning, we do our job, we go to work, we do it the best we possibly can. At the end of the day, you know, if you have a great day, maybe you're energized. If you have a bad day, you're down, you're pissed off, whatever it happens to be. But you probably have your dinner, you probably have a beer, you watch something, you do a little more work, or whatever it is that you do to unwind. You're playing solitaire or hanging with the kids or working on your, you know, outdoor deck or whatever it is. Building a car, whatever it is we do. And then we go to bed and we wake up and we trudge through our next day and we make it all work all over again. We don't take tens of thousands of dollars for people to put us in four walls and in total darkness to shove a burger through a pellet hole. And then think we're somehow on a deeper and or higher plane than everyone else. Oh, by the way, I have gone a little bit mad and I smell like my own feces. We just, that's usually not what you do, man.
Bill, I think I'm going to take editorial control and not play this 1-minute video.
Okay.
It's like, I can't even go through half of it without wanting to turn it off.
Can we, now what I'm trying to do is trying to give you a taste of the people that emerge from the darkness. So,
there's some people that are just absolutely sobbing uncontrollably. You got to visit this website, man. It's insane.
Okay.
Then the sob turns into a laughter.
Oh, I think they're sobbing because they're saying, I can't believe I spent my money on this. I accidentally pooped on my own plate. Oh. You know, that type of thing. I couldn't see. Now, from what I understand, by the way, there's candles in there, correct?
In the images that were shared, I would figure they would be put out.
Yeah, there's like candles or something. So it's not like you're in darkness to where your eyes came and adjust to the light anymore. Give me 10 seconds of blue. Give me 10 seconds. That'll be enough, right?
That's enough. That's more than enough.
Give me 10 seconds of blue.
For the safety of it is a huge part, is to feel safe, is to feel taken care of. And I really, really felt that. I felt that from the moment that I met you. And I think that what you're creating here is really important.
That is somebody who is so full of crap. I felt safe. I felt really safe. It's what you created here. I put a padlock on a door and put you in a dark room. Shut up. God. Oh. There are some people who walk around in life in flowing robes and with this deeper sense of knowledge, and we all look at them and go, we know you're full of crap. We know you're full of crap. That's it. Yeah, Chris says you can just hear John Candy running through the door going, bear, big bear, bear, bear got me, big bear. Oh, I love that movie, The Great Outdoors. Yeah, it's you just want to say, okay, enjoy yourself. You have become what a lot of people just can't fathom and can't relate to. You enjoy your day. Go drink tea. Put your pinky out. Call it a day. Oh.
Yeah, to not get us in trouble.
Right.
I think I'm going to hold off on
other
testimonials.
Okay.
But there is a link if you go to
put the link out. Put the link out. Yeah, put the link out over on Twitter. And then people throughout the day will periodically go and listen to some of the reviews, and they can then chime in and give us their own testimonial take of the testimonials. I think that's the best way to go about it. I don't want to kill off our entire listenership. So I felt safe. You created that here. I felt so safe. You've done that. It's dark. Oh yeah, I can do the same thing. I can lock you in a room, stand outside. Nobody's going to get to you. You feel safe? Give me 10 grand. How we looking?
Yeah. Someone said on the morning show, you could do that. It's called prison.
Right.
And when you get to prison, you do another bad thing. You go to solitary.
Right. I saw.
And there you are.
I saw Shawshank Redemption. I know what that's all about. Just. But maybe it's the accent. Maybe that's what does it. Like I have no idea. Like there's this level of higher arrogance to it. You just created that. Yeah. Just come on. Oh my goodness. There you go. There you go. Blue. Now, is that her real name, by the way? Or is that just some kind of thing that she made up along the way?
It's not.
Yeah.
That's her influencer name.
Yeah. Influencer.
Yeah. She's an influencer.
I'm going to create my own channel and call it Gas. And it's going to be myself and just comical outtakes of Peter Griffin. And we're going to do all the shows at Chipotle and Taco Bell and La Casa Tequila. And that's it. Just call it Gas. Oh, I felt the release of pressure. Oh. What are people doing? Where's the normalcy in our life anymore? Oh, my God. 877.
I told you it was in Oregon, though.
Yes, it isn't. Yeah, yes, you did. You know who else hangs out in Oregon in those tall trees?
DB Cooper?
Sasquatch.
Oh.
Yeah, Sasquatch.
Allegedly.
Yeah, you all you need to do is to combine that with the show Chasing Bigfoot, and you got something. You got something right there. So, telling you right now.
They turned the lights on in the room after 4 days.
And Bigfoot's in there. Wouldn't that be great?
You're cuddling with Bigfoot.
You're snuggling. You thought it was like a Chewbacca rug, and it's not. That's the best. You wake up, it's Bigfoot. It's awesome. Come on. And you're like, oh man, were you just at a Starbucks in Seattle? Yes. This is great. Actual confirmation that there's Bigfoot running around out there and he enjoys himself a freaking latte. Awesome. More of the Bill Michaels Show and stupidity next.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
They say the sky's the limit, but why stop there? This February at Potawatomi Casino Hotel, you can reach for the stars. Each Thursday night, if the stars align, you could reach for a piece of $400,000 in cash and prizes. Just play with your club card to earn entries 3 times on drawing days. Your win is written in the stars. Just play to find it. Only at Potawatomi. Visit paysbig.com/stars for more. Must be 21 years old and a club member to play.
They say love is a universal language. Well, that's definitely true if you're talking about bacon. I mean, who doesn't love bacon? Forget the chocolates. Give the gift of bacon. It's everyone's love language. And you're going to love it that our bacon's on sale right now. With quick hot savings, we're taking bacon down to $2.49 a 12-ounce pack. Limit 2. Savings on bacon? Whoa, that's 2 love languages at once. We're multilingual like that. Quick Trip. We're saving your bacon.
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
You got to hit it, bang it, rock it, put it in the pocket. Hit it, bang it, rock it, put it in the pocket.
Welcome back. Bill Michaels Show. We continue on. We are glad you're with us, and thanks so much for hanging out with us. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. If you want to give us a shout, please feel free. Again, 877-867-1670. Boy, here comes all the unblocked stuff that's been coming for quite some time now on the program. It's just, God. Oh, my goodness. No, Mike Clemens, by the way, is not covering this. Just so we know. Just so you know. Mike Clemens was not there upon the exodus of Aaron Rodgers from the retreat. Mike, it wouldn't surprise me, to be honest with you, but no, Mike was not a part of that. Mike was not all over it. By the way, we are now in the midst of the franchise tag period. The Baltimore Ravens have gone into kind of a standoff, I guess, for lack of a better term, with Lamar Jackson. They're waiting to find out as to whether or not Lamar Jackson wants a Deshaun Watson contract. And and I don't blame the Ravens. I've said for a long time, there are not many people in the league that I would even give a guaranteed contract to. I think the only person you could give a guaranteed contract to was probably a kicker. I know that sounds stupid, but he's probably one of the only people that's not going to get injured. I'm not giving a giant full-blown contract guaranteed to a quarterback. I don't care who they are. I'm just not doing it. Lamar Jackson has proven that over the last few years specifically that he is a running quarterback. His accuracy is at times questionable. He gets banged up. He misses vital games. This year, he wasn't even available for his team in the postseason. Now, some seem to think that he was holding out specifically because of all of this, basically saying, hey, look, for every game that I miss and every game you lose, I become that much more valuable. I think there's certainly a value to him. If he wants to be the highest paid player over the next few years, he could certainly be that. But all in all, I'm not giving him, I'm not paying Lamar Jackson 250, 300 million guaranteed. I'm not doing it. I'd rather let him walk, because if he gets, again, banged, first of all, he's taking a ton of money, and we all know that it's not easy in this league to be able to win and win championships with a quarterback, one guy making that much money. And secondly, he's only one hit away from running around and losing the remainder of his career. And you're stuck with it after that. So no, I'm not doing it. I know people think I'm crazy. I'll be honest, between you, me, and the fence post, yeah, he won an MVP, but I don't think he's that good. To be honest with you, I just don't. I don't think he's that good. People get mad at me for saying it, man. I mean, pissed off for saying that. I just don't. I think he's an unbelievable athlete. I think he is a hell of a runner. He's a creator. There's a lot of things that he does extremely well. But as far as being one of the best quarterbacks in the National Football League, I don't think so. I just don't. I'd go Patrick Mahomes. I'd go Joe Burrow. I'd go Josh Allen. Up until last year, I'd say Aaron Rodgers, obviously. You want to get paid on that level of greatness, but you're not even winning in the postseason. You're not getting your team consistently. You're battling with Joe Burrow in your own division to even win your division. I'm not paying him that amount of money. And I know people are going through the same thing in Cincinnati, saying whether or not they should or they shouldn't pay Joe Burrow. I wouldn't be paying Joe Burrow that amount of money. I'd make him the highest paid quarterback, but I'm not paying him all that guaranteed money. It's just not worth it, because if they go down, it's the what if. And the quarterbacks want you to live on the, well, what if I get better? And what if I win you a championship? Okay, well, what if you get hurt? What if you get hurt and you're making all the money and we can't fortify the rest of the team? We can't even find a really good backup because you go down. I don't think I could do it, to be quite honest with you.
Here's my problem with it, Bill.
Yeah.
If you're the Ravens and you're their front office, how do you sell it to your very talented, ready to win team that you're going to get rid of the star quarterback? Right? Because there are a bunch of guys in that locker room, I guarantee, like a Mark Andrews. He sees Lamar go somewhere else, he'll want out too.
If you say, now, what the Ravens offered him was a Deshaun Watson sized contract. It was only with about $130 million guaranteed. And I think that's a little ridiculous. But if you make him a legitimate offer, if he wants $250 million, don't guarantee all of it. Say I'll guarantee $160 million of it. That's a lot of money. I mean, that's making a genuine offer, 160, 180 million of it. I'm just not guaranteeing all of it. I can't do that.
I agree with that.
And then if your guys look at you and say, oh, I can't believe you didn't do that, say, look, Deshaun Watson's an anomaly. Kirk Cousins is an anomaly. I'm looking out for you. I'm looking out for the team as a whole. I know he's good. That's why we offered him that amount of money. That's why we wanted him to be one of the highest paid quarterbacks in the league. We know he's good, but I am not going to risk the entire franchise for any player. And for that, you have to respect that. I don't get mad at any player for getting what they can get. What I get mad is at the stupidity of a team to completely wreck a franchise over all the guaranteed money. I would have said the same thing had Aaron Rodgers wanted everything guaranteed. I think the franchise actually, which, you know, the other problem I have with this is when the players then say, well, it's not about the money like Rodgers did. It's like you need to keep your mouth shut, because if it wasn't about the money, then why did you take it? Because sometimes you can't have all the money and the legacy and the championships to go along with it. We all know that. The only place you can do that is baseball, where, you know, unless, of course, you're the Brewers, who pay one guy and can't afford really to pay anybody else. But beyond that, if you're in basketball or baseball or basketball or football or any other sport with a salary cap, and you want more than 25% of your team's total salary to go to you, and still think that you can just pay everybody else and win a championship and everybody else is going to be happy, ain't going to happen. And on top of it, get the money, get the contract, swear that it's not the contract, curse anybody's name that says it's that amount of money, and then turn around and not show up and let everybody else do the work while you sit back and relax. And that's even worse. So I as much as I think Lamar Jackson is a good player, I don't think he's a great player. And I think he's worth a certain amount of money. Certainly he makes that franchise go and makes them viable, but there's no way in hell I'm giving specifically any running quarterback, no way in hell I'm giving a running quarterback a guaranteed contract for over $250 million. Just won't happen. Move on. I'll go build it. I'll go build it with somebody else. I'll find somebody else along the way. I know quarterbacks are tough to find. I get that, but there's no way. I wouldn't do it. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. Find us. Would love to hear from you. Let's do this. We're going to go ahead and take a quick break. By the way, coming up after the top of the hour, Andy Herman of the Pack a Day podcast is going to be joining us. Andy's going to be here. We'll talk with him about all of this that's gone on. And just, you know, if he woke up today and heard that the emergence of the darkness happened, and then all the speculation and all the swirling of crap began to spew, does his anxiety level go up like mine does? You know, we'll get into all of that. Stay tuned. We got a whole lot more of the Bill Michaels Show. It's all coming up right after this.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
One of the worst things that you can hear, you have cancer. The worst is when you hear the words, your child has cancer. When a child is diagnosed with cancer, it changes their world. Sometimes they can't even do things that they really love, like playing soccer, riding a bike, going to prom, attending school. Children with cancer spend a lot of time away from others. I'm in the hospital, treatments, tired, nauseous, and they feel isolated. That's where Special Spaces Wisconsin steps in. They provide these children with a special space where they can not only sleep, but they can play, they can heal, they can spend time away from the challenges of their illness. It's a customized bedroom designed just for them. How about a princess castle or a pirate ship or a sports-themed bedroom? They transform that child's existing bedroom into a place that only he or she can imagine. A place for them just to be a kid. This effort is done with teams of dedicated volunteers and sponsors, just like our friends from Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin and all the community partners. If you'd like to find out more or to donate, go to specialspaces.org. That is specialspaces.org.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
CunisRV.com. That is CunisRV.com. They carry just about everything when it comes to makes, models, whether it's a motorhome, fifth wheel, travel trailer, camper van, you name it, they've got it. And the best part about it is they're growing throughout the great state of Wisconsin, well beyond the borders as well. But if you are truly looking for an RV or anything in that particular mode, whether it's Jayco, Alliance, Winnebago, Thor, Nexus. Nexus is the one we get every year. Dutchman, Forester. I mean, I can go on and on. They've just got they've got just about every brand. They do consignment, so if you want to get rid of yours and move on, and you don't want to deal with the hassles of people coming over and knocking on your door and all that kind of stuff, and appointments that are missed and frustration, they can handle that for you. Their inventory is continuing to grow now that we're kind of out of the supply chain issues, so to speak. And boy, oh boy, like the Elkhorn store has a ton of inventory. It really gives you a terrific selection of different floor plans, different models, different types, just really good stuff, and new and used. But I completely say, look, when it comes to looking at the website and checking it out, go to Kunis, Kunes, KunisRV.com. That is KunisRV.com, and see for yourself what it is they have to offer. And then, you can kind of pick your destination. And if you're within 50 miles of one of their dealerships and you want to consign yours, you can sign it. They'll come and get it for free. They'll come and get that thing for free. No hassle, no big commissions or anything like that. So they'll take care of it for you. And it puts inventory on there a lot too. So check them out. Go to Kunis, Kunes, KunisRV.com. And I know there's a lot of big conglomerates out there when it comes to RV dealerships, but Kunis is really, they're kind of like your backdoor, your backdoor kind of people. They're the ones that, you yell out the back door and you're like, they're your neighbors, hey, what do you got? I got this. Okay, great. They're your friends, as opposed to these giant mega stores, these mega boxes that seem very antiseptic, I guess is the best way to put it. Kunis is great. They really are. They're great people. Go to Kunis, Kunes, KunisRV.com. That is KunisRV.com. Coming up after the top of the hour, our buddy Andy Herman, Pack-A-Day Podcast, going to be joining us. We'll talk with him about all of this stuff. This is from Jace. No, I already read that. I don't want to do that again. Jason, thank you for the email. Jason's given me like 3 emails today about all kinds of different stuff. Jason, you are getting your voice heard, that's for sure. Our buddy Steve, here's a photo page from the Sky Cave Retreat. Oh, okay.
It's okay.
Yeah, that's not complete darkness. You know what I mean? That really isn't. That's I mean, you know, they got your own little fireplace in there, and yeah, you're kind of you're basically, instead of calling it like coming complete darkness, just call it where I'm cutting myself off from the rest of the world. Is that a good way to put it? Right?
Sure. Yeah, I guess.
Because there's lights, there's candles, there's skylight, there's, you know.
Well, they turn them off.
Okay. But I can't imagine.
It's not light out in the darker room.
Okay. Well, it doesn't look like what it looks like to me. It looks like a monk's monastery. Like you are more cut off from the world and cut off from certain things in a monk's monastery than you are for this. To act like you're going into this box of this, you know, chamber, if you will, where you are just gone from the world. You're nothing. You're within yourself. That's it. I don't know. We'll have to hear about the experience. I'm sure Aaron Rodgers will tell us about it. You know, he'll say how much light and how much darkness and how many hours of whatever I guess you have. But it, you know, it to me, a depth chamber is it's what people do for hours, where you go into this and it is completely black. You can't see anything. There's an oxygen that's pumped in. You're either laying and immersed in this salt solution, or you are in like a massaging type of bed where there's no light, no nothing. And after a couple of hours, you get out of this, and then you have to adjust to the light, and you're like, wow, you know, no matter how hard it is you strain to see, you can't. That to me is one of these chambers. This is like a mountain getaway where you're just, you know, you get to go play Little House on the Prairie for a little bit because you probably got to chop your own wood, you know? And then
what, Bill? Have you never chopped your own wood?
I have chopped my own wood, by the way. I have a whole outdoor encasement of it. Heck yeah. I got my buddy Suds. Suds brings me a load of wood or two per year. But yeah, I chop my own wood. We got a couple of trees around here that have gone down over the years. And yeah, I don't mind chopping wood. Chopping wood is actually a hell of an exercise. In case you didn't know. Chopping wood. And I used to do it the old way. Now they've got an actual bit that you can put on the end of your drill, and you can just drill down through it. It splits the wood for you. I used to have the old way where you tap in, you know, the awl, and you drive that then in, and you split it by hand by, you know, hitting it with the back end of an axe or a sledgehammer. Oh yeah. I used to, that's the way my dad and I did it. And
well, I mean, just hitting it with an axe. Take away the other thing you talked about.
No, I can do that. That's no big deal. Yeah.
Do you have paid wood cutters in your RV when you camp?
No, I don't. Usually, but I will say this: I have taken like one compartment underneath the RV. I have filled to the brim with chopped wood before, and taken it with me. So that way, if you wanted to sit down at a fire pit or something, you didn't have to go buy firewood. I just chopped it up. It sits next to my house. It's clean stuff. It's dried out stuff. It's not carrying, you know, ash borer stuff in it or anything like that. But I chop it up and take it with me. And yeah, I've done that before. But man, when I was a kid, my dad thought it'd be great to swing an axe and take trees down up on the property, up on the farm. And that would get the baseball swing in order. Oof. You talk about that there. Now there you go. That's where you got to wear batting gloves. If you are cutting down trees by hand, not with a saw, but with an axe, where you're taking 3 or 4 whacks, you're sharpening it, running it on a stone, taking 3 or 4 more good whacks, trying to notch out that V, get a couple off to the side, get the tree to fall the direction you want. Oh yeah, I did that when I was a kid. You betcha. 7th, 8th grade, freshman year of high school, working out for football. Oh yeah, my dad was really big into that. So my dad was one of the guys that said, hey, that's the way I did it. That's the way you'll do it. It was toting bales of hay and chopping down trees. That's the way you got in shape for 2 seasons. Coming up, Andy Herman of the Pack a Day podcast. He's going to join us. That is coming up next on the Bill Michaels Show. Hang in there.
This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
Well, Wisconsin got a much-needed win last night, beating Iowa 64-52. Badgers moved to 7-0 and shooting better than 50% from the field this year. Connor Sejan led the way with 17 points. It was a nice bounce-back effort after going 0 for 10 against Rutgers last weekend. It left Tyler Wall impressed.
It's just a lot of maturity for a first-year player here in this league. Going from not hitting a shot and then going out there, putting up a good amount of points and just being active on both offense and defense was huge. Not letting that one game define them and just come back and bounce back is pretty impressive.
Wall had 11 points, a season-high 14 rebounds. Chucky Hepburn had 12 points and 5 assists. Wisconsin improved to 8-9 in Big Ten play. They're going to be at Michigan on Sunday. Turning the Bucks, Bobby Portis and Jay Crowder are expected to be available tomorrow when they play the Heat. That's according to Coach Mike Budenholzer. Portis hasn't played since January 23rd due to a knee injury. Crowder joined the team via trade last week, though he hasn't played a game yet this season. Giannis Antetokounmpo will not play as he continues to recover from his wrist injury. Milwaukee going to end the game having won 12 straight.
For nearly 40 years, ABC of Wisconsin has been helping men and women transform themselves into well-paid, productive members of their construction teams. Today, we have 2,000 active apprentices in 10 different skilled trade programs, and we educate individuals in more trades than anyone else. To get your career started, go to buildyourcareerwi.org or just search online for ABC of Wisconsin.
Well, Aaron Rodgers has emerged from his 4-day darkness isolation retreat. That, according to ESPN, Rodgers did the retreat in Oregon, left the facility yesterday. Packers quarterback has yet to decide whether he's going to play another year or not. The team expected an answer prior to the start of free agency next month. With this Wisconsin Sports Zone Network update, I'm Zach Heil.
How we looking? How we looking? Good to have you on board today. And we're halfway through the program. Coming out of the darkness has now happened, and we all know that. And now joining us on the hotline, Andy Herman of the Pack a Day podcast is here. Andy, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Bill. Thanks so much for having me, as always. Always appreciate it.
Let me ask you first and foremost, what do you make of all of this? Because I said today when I heard, I hear the conjecture. Every day there's a different story. Every day there's a different take. Every day either they can't stand Aaron Rodgers, they can't stand Aaron Rodgers, they want him back, they don't want him back. Are you about up to here with the fatigue that is Aaron Rodgers in the offseason?
1,000,000%. I feel like we're the ones in the darkness retreat, and the darkness is knowing exactly what Aaron Rodgers is going to do, right? We are in the middle of no man's land. Like you said, every single day there's a new report. One is going to be that Rodgers is coming back, and then the next day it's no that he's leaving. Now the Packers are disgusted with Rodgers. Now they're happy to have him back. Like, it's just something new every day. And listen, like there's fun conversations to be had around it, right? If they trade him, what could they get in return? What team would he go to? Like, there's certain things in conjecture that you can go over that, like I said, is some level of fun. That's what the off season's all about. But when you get into like having to break down which journalist is breaking which piece of news and what's the newest and latest on what people think are going to have happen, like there's just, like you said, fatigue, exhaustion, whatever. And I think Packer fans of all fans should have, thick skin to this stuff by now, because we went through it with Brett Favre for how many years. And then this is really the third year in a row where it's been pretty aggressive with the Aaron Rodgers off and on again sort of saga. But I just think you can see the fatigue in everyone. And I think everyone's just ready, whatever that decision is, back, not back, traded, retired, whatever it is. I think everyone's just sort of ready for it.
What do you think happens? I'm going to ask you your opinion on all of this before I give you mine.
Ask me today, and it's one thing. Ask me tomorrow, and it's probably another. As I've said for the majority of the offseason, I think the easiest solution is probably the one that if I had to bet on something that I would probably bet on, and that's just that he's under contract. He's currently a member of the Green Bay Packers, and the easiest solution is probably that he's just back with the team. The one that I see is the least likely is him retiring. I can't imagine that all of a sudden we're going to hear this week that Aaron is retired. Nothing would completely shock me, but that would be by far and away the most surprising. And you could tell me that he got traded, and that certainly would not surprise me at all. But as much as I kind of go back and forth on it in my mind, if I had to bet on one today, I would probably say the easiest solution, which is probably him returning.
I listened to Brian Gutekunst, and I said yesterday that with everything that's gone on and everything that's been said, it's kind of like you got to stay in the middle of the tornado or the hurricane where you got to listen. And he said, we're not in this for 1 year. They didn't sign that contract for 1 year. They gave him a lot of money for 3 years. And they kept saying he gives them the best chance to win. They talked about Aaron making his decision, and we're reading into what wasn't said about wanting him back and everything. I just think that, and he said also, we have expectations for our, return on our investment. And in other words, get in here, get your work done, get your legs under you, work out harder this year, work with these young guys, get on the same page with the coach, and let's go. And that's pretty much what I took away from the end of season press conference. Did you?
It's interesting. I almost, in a way, took away the opposite. And what I've kind of gone back to, and the one thing that I kind of being counterproductive to myself here in what I just said a moment earlier, but the one thing that I do come back to is when, Brian Gutekunst got asked, obviously in back-to-back press conferences, one, right towards the end of the season, then one right after the end of the season. And it was telling to me that he used kind of the same canned statement. And it was like, when he was asked about Aaron Jones, he's like, oh, of course, absolutely, we want Aaron Jones back. And he was asked about David Bakhtiari, the expectation is that David's going to be back. And 2 press conferences when asked about Aaron Rodgers, specifically, he's like, well, we want all of our guys back. And it just seemed like a very canned statement. And there's an old bit by Michael Che, the SNL, Weekend Update host, where, he's basically like, well, if I tell my wife, well, if she asks me if I love her, and he's like, well, I love all women. Well, that doesn't always work.
Right.
If you ask Aaron Rodgers, like, do you want it back? Well, I want all my players back. It doesn't have the same connotation to it. So that's the one thing I do kind of keep going back to with Brian Gutekunst's press conferences is that he had a couple opportunities to say, absolutely, we want Aaron back. We would be thrilled if he came back this season. It was just more of a canned statement in both situations. And again, a juxtaposition to what he said about Aaron Jones and even David Bakhtiari. So again, this is the least fun aspect of it because we're trying to read between the lines and read the tea leaves, but that's the one that I kind of keep coming back to. If
the Packers didn't expect more than 1 year out of it, why in the world would they have signed that contract?
Yeah, it's a fair question. And that swings it back in the other direction, right? I think when they signed that contract a year ago, I think they fully expected that this was going to be something where Aaron was going to retire a Packer and that they had, probably 2 to 3 seasons with Aaron. You could look at it in another way and say, like, what the option bonus is, what they did is they left themselves an out to trade Aaron Rodgers if it did get to that situation. And I do think there is a difference between him coming off back-to-back MVP seasons and him coming off broken thumb or not, trouble with the ribs or not, him coming off arguably the statistically worst starting season of his career. So I think things change in the NFL at a rapid pace. And how many times do we see a coach sign a new 5-year deal and then he season a new contract? Different. This stuff just unfortunately happens in the NFL, but I think whatever happens, we're certainly going to go back to the last offseason, look at that contract that he signed and say, all right, probably mistakes were made in one way or another.
Well, let's get away from Rodgers for a minute. What do you like? What do you dislike about this team moving forward? Because I think we're all kind of thinking to ourselves, this team needs to, first and foremost, figure out its salary cap. There are some guys they can redo, but what do you like about this team? What do you not like about this team right now moving forward?
I think some things that I like is, you can look at this team and be like, oh, they're so far away from being able to compete at a high-end level again, or, things like that. I look at this team and I still see some extremely young, talented players on this roster where you can look at the Chicago Bears and be like, wow, the Bears have all this salary cap space and they have all these draft picks, the number 1 overall pick coming up. And you could be, you can look at it and say, yeah, that's great. But, they don't have a Jair Alexander. They don't have a Rashawn Gary. They don't have some, Elton Jenkins. They don't have some of these really talented young players that Green Bay still has on their roster. And I think that is still a reason to be excited about this team moving forward. They have a lot of really interesting lottery tickets that some will pay off, some will not. But your Quay Walkers, your Devontae Wyatts, your Jordan Loves, Samori Toure, Romeo Dobbs, the list is pretty extensive of some players that could be really, really good. Maybe some don't turn out, but I think they have a lot of intriguing young players on this team. Where I'm not so bullish on this team is I think this is a team that is desperately in need of an identity, especially on offense and on defense. On defense, this seems to want to be, from a Joe Barry standpoint, kind of a bend but don't break conservative defense, not bring a lot of players, try to get home with 4 and cover on the back end, make sure you're not giving up explosive plays, tackle everything ahead of you. They don't really have those guys. They don't have the, high-end tacklers in the defensive backfield that are making sure that those plays end up in 5-6 yard plays rather than 20-30 yard plays. And we don't see a level of violence. If you ask what this defense does well, it's not a violent attacking defense. It's not a ball hawking defense. It's not a pressure defense. It's not a blitzing defense. So, what is it that you do well? I think they need to figure that out. And same kind of thing on the offensive side of the ball. They seem to be a mismatch offense, meaning they want to take advantage of whatever the defense is giving to them, which in theory is good, but you have to have something that you can lean on, something that you can always go to as your bread and butter that you do very, very well. I don't think Green Bay necessarily had that last year either, going in, especially when they got into red zone situations. So I do think this team is desperately in need of an identity, and I think that's something whoever is at quarterback that they're going to have to find this season.
I have said my priority would be a pass-catching tight end, more depth in the defensive front. I agree with you on now, you're going to have a healthy Devondre Campbell. You're hoping to get Rashawn Gary back. Better numbers this year out of Preston Smith. Devontae Wyatt and Quay Walker certainly take a step up. What are you going to get in Stokes? Did Savage figure it out? Maybe things change in that sense, but I still think pass-catching tight end, another wide receiver, a veteran wide receiver. I think your offensive line is relatively solidified. But I just, can you just run it back? I mean, you take a look at like Lazard. They're talking about paying Lazard. And Lazard, for all intents and purposes, thought he was gone. So is it wise to bring Lazard back? Is he the best of a bad lot, or is he just cheap?
Yeah, I think the Lazard thing is probably the similar conversation of Green Bay goes to his agent, says, here's the number where where we're at. You go out in free agency. If you don't get your number, come back to us and we'll be here. But he probably goes out in free agency and hits that number that he wants, right? Just based on the lack of wide receivers that are available this offseason. I think he probably ends up getting paid significantly more by another team. But to answer your other question, and I'm with you, you mentioned pass catching tight end, you mentioned wide receiver, whether it's veteran. To me, it's just as simple as they need more playmakers on offense. But I love the Alan Lazards, the Mercedes Lewises, the guys that are doing the dirty work. And there is a place for those players, unequivocally. You need to have some of those guys on your team. But at the end of the day, this is an NFL right now made up of playmakers. And if you don't have a handful of guys that can get the ball in their hands and make explosive plays, it's going to be really hard to put up points. We are seeing all these defenses play the version of the defense that we kind of just explained, right? Trying to play 2 safeties deep, trying to make sure that you're not getting these long explosive plays. You've got to just have guys where you can get the ball in their hands and they can make things happen. Bringing Aaron Jones back is a piece of that. Having Christian Watson in his second year is a piece of that. But pass catching tight end, just having a guy that can separate and get some actual yards after the catch at that position would be huge. A wide receiver that can work the middle of the field and, again, do something actually with it afterwards to pick up an additional 15, 20 yards. So you're not having to have these 17-play, 85-yard touchdown drives that are just such a slog and make it so incredibly difficult to put up points in today's NFL. So I think if you can do that, all those things that we mentioned on defense, if all of a sudden your offense is putting up significant points again and you've got, a double-digit lead, that allows Joe Barry to be more aggressive on defense. It's really hard to play defense when the offense has everything available at their disposal, when they can go run, pass, play action, etc. It makes it tough. If all of a sudden Green Bay's playing from ahead because they have those playmakers on offense, I think we're going to start seeing the Eric Stokes, the Jair Alexanders, the Rasul Douglases, that secondary group that is more meant for their coverage, all of a sudden can do their job a little bit more rather than having to do the physical, eat your vitamins type of work. And I think they can be a little bit more successful if they get actually that, those playmakers on offense.
Talking with Andy Herman of the Pack a Day podcast at Andy Herman NFL over on Twitter. I agree with you about all of that. And the question I have when you talk about a pass catching tight end, what do you think of Tanya now that he's a year removed from his knee issues?
It's an interesting question. If we go back to 2020, I think we saw a very impressive Robert Tonyan that could help any offense in the NFL. I remember 2021 in training camp. This was not just a me thing. This was a lot of people saying this. He was like the player of the 2021 training camp. He caught everything his way. He was getting separation. He was constantly in the middle of the field catching everything from Aaron Rodgers. It was a very impressive offseason. And then, but remember, like prior to his ACL injury, even the start of the 2021 season, for whatever reason, that training camp performance did not carry over into the start of the regular season. And he was not anywhere near on pace for what he was doing in 2020. Then as the torn ACL, and then you could tell at the beginning of last year, he just wasn't quite himself coming off that torn ACL up until the end of last year, where you could kind of start seeing some of that athleticism and run after the catch come back a little bit for him. So I think this is an opportunity where, listen, if you get him on a cheap prove it, deal with some, potential incentives, late in that contract, I think that's something that could make sense for this team, especially if Aaron's back. But I also think that you're probably at a point right now where you're looking at an aging Mercedes Lewis, a Robert Tonyan that's coming off an ACL. And it's just probably a position where you just need a little bit more youth and explosiveness. And this is a pretty decent draft for those type of tight ends. And wouldn't shock me if in even like round 2, Green Bay starts looking for a younger pass catching tight end.
I would like to see that tight end position upgraded. I would like to see another weapon added, but I also want to see a veteran of some ilk, wide receiver wise. And I'm not talking just somebody's retread. I'm talking get somebody that's like you said, a playmaker that is bona fide that can help this team. And at the very least, dictate coverage, which then would help Christian Watson and Romeo Doubs and Samori Toure and whoever else you get open and be a much better player. That's the only bigger free agent pickup I would love to see, short of maybe if you're going to replace Adrian Amos at safety.
Yeah, Mike Gesicki, Evan Ingram, a couple names that could potentially make some sense, more pass-catching tight ends. And listen, again, one of the things that's tough to predict with this offseason and what direction Green Bay should go is who's at quarterback. But that's a position where if it's Aaron Rodgers, we know they need more playmakers because they're obviously going to try to contend for this, at the highest possible levels that they can this upcoming season if they're bringing Aaron back. If it's Jordan, the best friend for a young quarterback making his first starts is a tight end over the middle that can be your security blanket that you can go to when things break down, when you have a Kansas City Chiefs game on the road where everyone's blitzing you like crazy. Just having that tight end who can box people out and just be, like I said, like a safety valve or security blanket, that is going to be so important for Jordan Love. So no matter who's at quarterback, a pass-catching tight end makes a lot of sense for this team.
Real quick before I let you go, so I believe that Rodgers, I said all along, if Rodgers is committed, he's back. That if he wants to run it back, I think they're going to go ahead and do that. I think that's where things are going to lie. If he's not committed, and Andy, you tell me first before I let you go, do you think last year he put everything into his body and his legs and his core during the offseason?
During the offseason, no. I think Aaron is very confident what he can do with just kind of the way, where he's at in his career right now. I think if you're comparing, 2010, 2011, 2012, Aaron Rodgers and what he did in the offseason to what we saw this past season, my guess is it's just probably not the same, right? And again, it's tough to know that 1,000,000% for sure. But I think that's probably, there's some level of truth probably to that.
Okay, so that being said, so at the end of all of this, I've said all along, if I'm Goody, I sit down with him and I say, are you in? And I'm talking about working out, building the legs back up, core strength, working with the young guys, working with the coach. Like he said, we want this return on our investment, which I thought was a very interesting statement in his postseason presser to say something like that. To me, if he's all in, I'm bringing him back. If he even remotely hesitates, like, I don't know if I want to do that. I don't want to be there for this. The old let Cobby coach him up. Then I'm like, you know what? You're done. We'll talk to you later. We don't need this because if you're not going to be all in, you're not going to be committed, then what are we doing? If you're not committing to getting better, then you're not getting better, and we'll talk to you later. I assume that's what's going to happen, right?
Yeah, I think the conversation's pretty simple, right? I think Aaron wants the Packers to be all in, and I think the Packers want him to be all in. And I think Brian Gutekunst can say, listen, I'm willing to go out and get some guys, maybe a Mike Gesicki, maybe an Evan Ingram, whatever that is. I'm willing to go out and build this roster and borrow more from the future to build this team up to go all in, but I need the same commitment from you. And that, I know that some of that stuff is voluntary, but we really need you here to be the leader of this team. Mm-hmm. And I think if both sides are that way, if Aaron says, yep, I'm all in if you're all in, and Brian says, I'm all in if you're all in, I think it's probably a fairly easy conversation, right? But if, like you said, if there's any inkling from either side that Green Bay's maybe waffling and saying, hey, we're just going to go grab a couple of the, bargain bin free agents like we normally do and build through the draft, Aaron might say, yeah, I have a better chance elsewhere. Some other team will go all in. And if Brian says, or if Aaron says, hey, I'm just going to kind of do what I did last season, and Green Bay's not a fan of that, then maybe they say they're going to go in a different direction. So I think both sides really need to be all in this conversation when they have it.
Andy, great stuff, man. I appreciate it. I could go on and on, but I know our time's short. Take care. We'll talk to you soon when all this kind of transpires, okay?
Can't wait. Thanks so much, Bill.
Appreciate it, pal. There you go. That's Andy Herman of the Pack a Day Podcast. Go to Andy Herman NFL, at Andy Herman NFL over there on Twitter. And I agree with him. You're either all in or you're not. If you're not, move on. And I agree that if the Packers aren't all in at this point, then Aaron Rodgers probably looking at it as maybe a 1-2 year window, saying if you're not all in, you're not going to get us what we need. I'll give you relief in the cap. I'll do what I can. I understand that. We gotta fix that first. And if Rodgers is not all in, then obviously Rodgers could say, hey, I don't want to be here. I'll give you some relief if you can get me out of here and move on. And maybe they make his decision. So we'll wait and see. This portion of the program brought to you by my buddy Dwayne, Duanes, Dwayne'sCoverItAll.com. That is Dwayne'sCoverItAll.com. And I tell you why, because he is Wisconsin's best, by far best canvas, upholstery, boat cover provider. If you have gym equipment, he can do it. If you have office equipment, he can do it. If you have an awning, canvas awning or something out in front of your business, just give him the measurements. He can do that for you too and install it. It's just such good quality craftsmanship, and people from all over, not just even in the state of Wisconsin, are coming to him for this unbelievable quality upholstery, boat cover provider, canvas upholstery, you name it. They can do it. Go to Dwayne's, DUANES, Dwayne'sCoverItAll.com, or just call him 715-870-2119, 715-870-2119. Follow him on Facebook at Dwayne's Cover It All. Cover It All as well right there also, because he just does fantastic stuff. More of the Bill Michaels Show next.
This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
One of the worst things that you can hear, you have cancer. The worst is when you hear the words, your child has cancer. When a child is diagnosed with cancer, it changes their world. Sometimes they can't even do things that they really love, like playing soccer, riding a bike, going to prom, attending school. Children with cancer spend a lot of time away from others. Time in the hospital, treatments, tired, nauseous, and they feel isolated. That's where Special Spaces Wisconsin steps in. They provide these children with a special space where they can not only sleep, but they can play, they can heal, they can spend time away from the challenges of their illness. It's a customized bedroom designed just for them. How about a princess castle or a pirate ship or a sports-themed bedroom? They transform that child's existing bedroom into a place that only he or she can imagine, a place for them just to be a kid. This effort is done with teams of dedicated volunteers and sponsors, just like our friends from Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin and all the community partners. If you'd like to find out more or to donate, go to specialspaces.org. That is specialspaces.org.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
If you are out looking for some bacon, and aren't we all? There is no better place to go than Quick Trip. Check out our friends at Quick Trip. They have right now limit 2 because the price is so good. And don't forget to use your Quick Rewards card. So when you're there, you can pick up some bacon, anything else you possibly need, and it can get you some discounts, take away some pain at the pump. Or if you're like me, every now and then you walk up there and you're like, you know what, I'm going to grab one of these burgers or something like that. And they're like, oh, that's free. That's on us today. Oh, that just tastes so good. Check out our friends over there at Quick Trip. And don't forget, when you're there, type in your Quick Rewards card, and you are good to go. You are good to go. So, Louis Riddick, by the way, on ESPN, talking about Aaron Rodgers and such. It was from First Take just a little while ago. And all the discussion became about Aaron Rodgers emerging from the darkness. Louis Riddick had this to say. Take a listen.
So I think, for him to return to Green Bay really is the easiest road. I think there's a lot of things that would allow him and that really would make sense for him to go ahead and return there, given how the season ended last year. So, yeah, nothing would surprise me with this guy really at this point in time. Quite honestly, it gets exhausting having the conversation every offseason about whether or not he even wants to play the game in the first place. And that's why I think personally, when you're talking about the Jets in particular, I said this yesterday and I said it again today, so I'll say it again now. It's just as important for them to get the right person as it is to get the right player in that organization. We saw just how important people are, especially character makeup at the quarterback position. We saw it just this year with the Kansas City Chiefs. It's the number one reason why, despite all the doubt people had about Patrick Mahomes going into the season, given what he had lost, it was the makeup of the player that made the difference for them. Because as soon as the offseason hit last year, he got everybody together that was new, along with McCole Hardman in that wide receiver room, and said, you're coming down to Texas with me. I'm going to get this on the same page right now. Right now, not in August. I'm not skipping OTAs. I'm not skipping mini camps. I'm not going to have any questions. There's no questions about whether or not I want to play the game. I'm going to get us all together, and I'm going to get us on the right page. And what does he do? He wins his second MVP, his second Super Bowl, and he has the best season efficiency-wise of his entire career. Is Aaron at that point to where he wants to do that for a new team that desperately needs a guy like that? I don't know if he is. That's why I think he winds up back in Green Bay.
There you go. In other words, Green Bay gets the door prize of quarterbacks if he's not committed. I have said all along, and I don't waver from this. I got people asking me today on the live stream, and you know, some of it's sarcastic, some of it's honest. About, well, Rodgers hasn't made a decision yet. He hasn't let anybody know. LOL, you know, it's a joke and this and that. And, well, you want him back so bad. I said, no. It's not about wanting him back so bad. What I want is the commitment. And I think that's the biggest thing. It's on both sides. And Andy Herman was dead on. It's on both sides. The Packers are ready to commit and say we're in, and Rodgers is in, then I think it's a good marriage. If Rodgers is not ready to commit, he's not ready to go all in, he's not ready to be that guy, then it's a bad marriage and you need to move on. regardless of the Jordan Love effect. The only other caveat to that is if Gutekunst is sitting in his office right now listening to this program and he's nodding his head and he says to himself, Bill, but Jordan Love is the real deal. I know it. I was a little sketchy when I chose him, but I've watched him grow. I've watched him throw the football. I've watched him understand. I've watched him learn. I've watched him become more of a leader. I've watched his confidence. And I believe from everything I've heard from the coaches, the other guys around him, that he's the guy. That would be the only other fly in the ointment. If you believe that, then unequivocally, you tell Aaron Rodgers, we're trading you. We're going to send you to a team that's acceptable. Give us your short list of 5 or 6 that are looking for quarterbacks, and we'll see if we can't make a deal. Now, I'm going to be honest with you, Aaron. I really don't want to trade you away to an NFC team. It'll be down on the list. It'll be down on the list. So if your first team is San Francisco, that'll be the 3rd team on the list. We'll try the Jets. We'll look at the Raiders. We'll try to put you into a situation where if you play for the next year or 2, you have a legitimate shot at winning a division and getting into the postseason. After that, what you do with it is up to you. And then we'll go with San Francisco. We'll go with some of these other teams that could possibly be looking for a quarterback, Tampa Bay, whatever. But the only way we'll do that, and we'll make you very aware of it, is they're going to have to come stronger than any AFC team to get your services. We're going to have to get more out of it, because it would be stupid upon our part to not only give you what you want and trade you away, but then to have you come back and beat us if indeed we turn out to be pretty good. We don't want that. So that would be it. That would be the way I would go. If he's not all in, it makes it extremely easy. Extremely easy. Hey, if you are going to be out and about this weekend, maybe a little Mardi Gras celebration, or maybe you're going to do the Lenten thing, the fish fry on Friday, and then on Saturday, get your grill on. This is what you do. You call up my buddy Paul Roberts at Roberts Specialty Meats, and you say, Paul, what do you got? Paul's going to say, I have the garlic Parmesan chicken skewers. You're like, oh, that sounds good. Or maybe I'm dieting. I have shaved turkey. Maybe I do have chicken. Sure. How about like just a filet? High protein, low fat filet. How about that? Maybe low fat ground beef. Drained ground beef. How about that? Or maybe you're just all in and you're like, you know what? I just wanted one of those Al Capone roasts or the sausages. I'm going to bring in some marinara. I'm bringing in some extra cheese. I'm face first like I'm going to the electric chair on Sunday. Maybe you do that. Either way, you call our buddy Paul Roberts. Roberts Specialty Meats, Waukesha.com. That is Roberts Specialty Meats, Waukesha.com. You got some deli items. You got some Wisconsin cheeses, cheese spreads that are down there as well. Or maybe his own barbecue sauce. Check it out. Go to Sunset Drive in Waukesha or Roberts Specialty Meats, Waukesha.com. That is Roberts Specialty Meats, Waukesha.com.
This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Grilling outside or hearing that sizzle indoors? Get your choice cuts delivered right to your doorstep from SchulzeFamilyBeef.com. That's SchulzeFamilyBeef.com.
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Glad to have you on board today. A lot of good stuff to chat about. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. Don't forget about our friends at Pindel, Pindel.com. Pindel.com, a good quality machining and manufacturing company right here in the state of Wisconsin. And if you're looking for a career, just give them a shout. Go to Pindel.com. They're paying excellent wages, and they want you to understand it's a career. It's not just a job that, you know, whether it's the old-fashioned spindle way or you're doing it robotically, they'll train you on everything. And if you want to someday build your own business, they're like, hey, we'll help you. So they're just a good company to work for, and they're right here in our own backyard, New Berlin, Wisconsin. Go to Pindel, Pindel.com. That's Pindel.com. So I thought this was interesting. Over on Twitter, Badger Bay says, why trust Goody? RAS scores 42 of his draft picks, 27 of which are busts. This is fundamental part of the problem. Okay. So you start to go through this list of draft choices. And, Jordan Love, we don't know anything about. A.J. Dillon, he's average. Dexter Williams, no good. Kylan Hill, he ends up getting, dealt. Christian Watson, good so far. Equinemius St. Brown, no. Marquez Valdez-Scantling, they call him a bust, but he actually was a serviceable guy. Jamon Moore, bust. Amari Torre, to be determined. Amari Rodgers, a bust. You go through the offensive line. Zach Tom, he's been good so far. Elton Jenkins, good. Royce Newman, considered a bust. Cole Van Lannon, certainly a bust. Anybody that's still on the roster that's serviceable, I would say good, but not, a bust. John Runyon, good. Sean Ryan, they've already called Sean Ryan a bust. He's only been in the league a half a season, but Cole Madison, Jake, it all goes through all the whole thing. Josiah DeGuara, Jay Sternberger, the whole deal. So I get it, but I thought, you know what? How does that compare, say, to Bill Belichick? You go back and go 2016, Cyrus Jones, Joe Tunney, certainly, serviceable. Jacoby Brissett, right? Vincent Valentine, Malcolm Mitchell, Landon Roberts, Ted Karras, Devin Lucene. Go up to, say, 2018, Sony Michel, yeah. Duke Dawson, Jawan Bentley, the linebacker. There's Christian Sam, Braxton Berrios, Danny Etling, yeah, okay. Keon Crossan, Ryan Izzo. You start looking at this and you put it into these, a lot of these guys are still with the team. I agree with that. They're serviceable and they're players. But you start looking at it in the sense of Gutekunst really did, in the grand scheme of things, he had two drafts that were just not good. They looked good and they just didn't end up that way, right? Just didn't end up that way. Jair has certainly turned out to be good. Josh Jackson, Oren Burks, Jamon Moore, Cole Madison, J.K. Scott, MVS, EQ, James Looney, Hunter Bradley, Kendall Donnerson. When all you have left from that 2018 draft is one guy, I agree. That's not good. That's not good. 2019, Rashawn Gary, Darnell Savage, and Elton Jenkins. Beyond that, nope, not good. You got 4 players from 2 years worth of draft available to you. That's not good. 2020, A.J. Dillon, Josiah DeGuara, Kamal Martin, John Runyon, Jake Hansen, Vernon Scott, Jonathan Garvin, okay. But I would agree. Your life's blood is your NFL draft, and you're only as good as your general manager and the guys that are choosing. The last couple of drafts, though, have been pretty good. So what I would say is the first couple of drafts are this. Now work with me here for a minute. You want them to be great. There's no doubt about that. You want them to be great, right? But here's what happens. Ted retires. Goody moves up. Russ Ball wanted the job, didn't get it. Now you've got Goody moving up. You've got other guys that are moving around in the system. It takes you a little while to get acclimated. Even let's just say you've been in a company for forever, right? And you've been doing the same thing on the line, and the production line better than anybody. You're one of the people that have been down there inspecting the product. You know it better than anybody. And then they say, you know what? You know that product so well. We had a guy that was promoted to senior vice president. You're going to become the vice president in charge of production. And now no longer are you the guy on the line inspecting the product. You're the guy that has to oversee the people inspecting the products. They don't look at them the same way you do. They don't see them the same way you do. They may have a less standard than you do, or they may value something a little bit different. You know what I mean? So it takes a little while for people to get acclimated to what it is you want and for what it is they look for versus what it is you look for. So the first year or so, I can say that. No problem. After, as things start to get better, you kind of say, well, guys and girls are getting more into their role. We now have a uniform expectation across the board, and we're starting to see things the same. It takes a little while. So the first couple of years of Goody, what's left? Yeah, it's not good. I admit that. But he hasn't been bad since, especially last year. You know, thank God you hit on 4 of those guys that became viable pieces of your team. You know, otherwise, poof, you're you're really down the tubes, you know? At least you have some opportunities now, right? So I'm not all down on Goody. I think Goody has done he's made it he's gotten better. He's gotten better. This is a big year though. I agree with that. The big year, because not only is it the decision with Aaron Rodgers, yes or no, but it's also acquiring additional talent that's going to come in and help pretty quickly. And in addition to that, it's also then the acquisition, the ability to work with Russ Ball on the acquisition of additional talent, at least 2 pieces, one being offensive and one being defensive. At least 2 pieces. And I think that's probably all you can afford, to be honest with you, but at least 2 pieces that are going to be impactful players on this team. That's going to be it. Yeah, Ben.
There's one problem when it comes to this offseason with Goody. And this is not a defense of him, but it's looking forward to what we're going to see the next couple months.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to add at wide receiver, you kind of have to do it in the draft or trade if you could find something. The best available free agent wide receivers are Juju Smith-Schuster, Jacoby Myers, Paris Campbell, Alan Lazard, and Mac Hollins. Right. None of those 5 are changing your offense.
No, that's why I think there's got to be some creativity there.
Plus, the top ones are going to get crazy money just because there's nothing else available.
Right.
Like Christian Kirk last year with the Jaguars got insane money, and that set a weird market, but there were a lot of good guys available out there. There just aren't this year, which will kind of make it tough. You're relying on the young guys, but you also are going to have to draft another.
Yeah, no, I agree with. Would you? Let me ask you this. Would you venture back out for the OBJ? Because he's still out there. If he's healthy, would you go back in that in that realm?
If he's healthy, I mean, definitely. If I could work it with money, but he'll probably be asking more than the Packers could pay.
Mm-hmm.
We're sitting here in a situation where they still have to cut back a little bit. They still have to sign their draft class. And there probably are other places that are needed more. You talk about like a vet defensive lineman.
Right.
So I don't know. The markets are also all kind of getting crazy for free agency, because you have teams like the Jaguars, like last year, where they had a clean slate, a couple number 1 overall picks, and they weren't paying anybody.
Right.
So they went out and paid 7 dudes at once, all money probably way above what they were worth, which set the market for everybody else.
Right.
That's why I think free agency is going to be tough. That's all I'm trying to say.
I think free agency is going to be tough, and I'm not even saying you got to go out and find yourself a guy via free agency. I think you're going to have to make a deal. I think you're probably have to give up a draft choice or 2. I just my opinion. I mean, there's some guys out there that you might have to figure out salary cap stuff with. But I know a lot of people are talking about DeAndre Hopkins. But there probably is another. Plus, don't forget, there's going to be guys that are going to get cut because of their salary. But yeah, I would think that there's the June 1st cut down days. I'm sure. But there's going to be other areas to be creative with that you got to find somebody. And I look at what Goody has the task of, and there's 2 areas that you're going to have to figure out. One is going to be another wide receiver, and 2 is going to be safety. I mean, I know people say, well, bring Cobb back. He can help, but I understand that, but he's still not a guy you need a guy wide out that is going to dictate coverage where you have to account for this guy. And that you need that. We saw that last year. And I know people went after me when I said they don't have a downfield threat, but unless Christian Watson emerges in his second year and really becomes a Jamar Chase-esque type of player, you still don't have that guy. He's fast. He can get downfield, but that's not a consistent downfield threat. He's not winning the 50-50 balls. He's not, hauling it in from all over the place. He's not Devontae Adams. He's not getting free. He's not a guy that you can't handle one-on-one right now. He can maybe become that guy, and maybe he does. But at the end of the last season, they still weren't. I mean, you just listen to what, the Detroit Lions said. No, they didn't have a downfield threat. We didn't worry. And Detroit didn't have a great secondary. They just simply said, look, we know that Christian Watson's fast, but there's nobody like Devontae over there. Not to say that you got to get a Devontae type of player, but you at least need a guy that's going to dictate coverage. 877-867-1670. Mark said Zach Tom was last year's best draft choice, and otherwise it's been a bust. Really? Quay Walker was your leading tackler? He just needs it's going to take him a little bit of time. Like Rashawn Gary, would you consider him a bust? It took him a little while. Devontae Wyatt, same thing, and he played well at the end of the season. Christian Watson started to show flash when he was healthy. Romeo Doubs had a decent role in the offense coming out of the slot. Zach Tom played extremely well. This was a better than average draft for Gutekunst. And you're hoping that, look at Eric Stokes, who ended up getting hurt. Hopefully he can come back and play well this year. Josh Myers. Now, I agree about Amari Rodgers and Royce Newman, but TJ Slayton's at least giving you a little bit of depth for a fifth-round draft choice. Shamar Jean-Charles, no, and I get it. Kylan Hill, they let go. Isaiah McDuffie, Cole Van Lannon gone. I understand all of that. But this past year's draft choice, when they needed it most, they got it. You'd love to get one more draft like that. Boy, oh boy, would that fortify this team in a heartbeat. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. Hit us up. We'd love to hear from you. This portion of the program brought to you by our friends at Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin. And at Pella right now, and I've told you before about the windows and doors I have in the house. I'll absolutely love them. With the cold wind blowing right now like crazy, and I'm watching the snow and the ice blow off the roof, and I am nice and toasty and always constant of a 70 degrees here inside the house. I can't sing the praises enough. I had a great room downstairs that always was leaky. You could always hear the wind coming through that great big giant patio door, and I had it replaced with a beautiful door from Pella, and that room stays consistent. And every day that it's cold, that room is now saving me money because of that new door that I replaced it with. You can get roll screens, you can get slider windows, you can get different casements, inside, outside, Impervia, which is just like fiberglass, vinyl, wood, whatever suits your budget. No reason not to call our friends at Pella. And right now, no interest, 48 months. If that doesn't prop you in a call, I don't know what will. No interest, 48 months. Get a hold of our friends at Pella. Go to Pella, P-E-L-L-A, PellaWI.com. That is PellaWI.com, or call them 855-PELLA-WI, 855-PELLA-WI.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket, this is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Waterfront Pub and Grill tomorrow. I know they did a big deal last night for the beginning of Mardi Gras and all that kind of stuff, or for the end of Mardi Gras, but going into the Lenten season, big fish fry tomorrow night right there on the lake. And they also have a big event coming up I've been telling you about at Curly's, and I'd like to expound upon it if you just give me just Milwaukee Lake. They have got the ice fishing tournament, or the ice golf tournament coming up. And I know they've got a lot going on. There's a lot of fun stuff happening out there. But they do it for autism, and they have got a lot of cool things that they do out there that are meat raffles and whiskey raffles, and the ice golf and meat raffle coming up for autism, and that's this weekend on Sunday the 26th. They've got the registration going on. I don't know what it's going to be like weather-wise. I don't know if they're going to be able to get on the ice, but they always do a terrific raffle. And they've got a whiskey raffle. They've got Blanton's and Buffalo Trace and Four Roses and Whistle Pig and Angel's Envy and Boardstown, packaging it all up for some chances. It's a wonderful, wonderful event. And if you're going to do anything this weekend, you want to swing by Curly's Waterfront Pub and Grill, right there on Pewaukee Lake, Lakeview Boulevard on Pewaukee Lake. They do a terrific job. And Ryan and his staff are great people, but they do it for autism this weekend. So remember that if you're going to do anything. So I highly recommend heading out there. Just good people. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. Coming up after the top of the hour. Some other stuff, if you will, being said regarding the Green Bay Packers. This time it's by Alan Lazard. When it comes to Alan Lazard was on Sirius XM Radio. When it comes to dealing with the Packers and becoming a free agent and looking for the money and all that kind of stuff. So you're going to hear from Alan Lazard coming up after the top of the hour. So you want to hang out for that. Okay, hang out for that. In the meantime, I got an email here real quick. This is from our buddy Jeff, listening to us in Waukesha. I said, I honestly don't care if Rodgers or Love are the quarterback next season because neither of them next season are going to take us to a Super Bowl. So to me, just build the damn team with Jordan Love. I like to see what he has. Did Ben pull a Rodgers on you where the dark cabin on the vacation would possibly be? Hey, you kind of didn't tell us, but you gave us a little hint, sort of, kind of. I like that referral, though. I like that point of reference. Ben did give us a little bit of Aaron Rodgers. I'm going into the darkness. I'll tell you when and where. I'll give you a hint, but it's by a balloon, but maybe not. Could be. Might be. Dark, light, candles, in a tent, not in a tent, where the golf clubs can be swung. I like it. More of the Bill Michaels Show coming up right after this.
This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
Well, Wisconsin got a much-needed win last night, beating Iowa 64-52. Badgers moved to 7-0 and shooting better than 50% from the field this year. Connor Sejan led the way with 17 points. It was a nice bounce-back effort after going 0 for 10 against Rutgers last weekend. It left Tyler Wall impressed.
It's just a lot of maturity for a first-year player here in this league. Going from not hitting a shot and then going out there, putting up a good amount of points and just being active on both offense and defense was huge. Not letting that one game define them and just come back and bounce back is pretty impressive.
Wall had 11 points, a season-high 14 rebounds. Chucky Hepburn had 12 points and 5 assists. Wisconsin improved to 8-9 in Big Ten play. They're going to be at Michigan on Sunday. Turning the Bucks, Bobby Portis and Jay Crowder are expected to be available tomorrow when they play the Heat. That's according to Coach Mike Budenholzer. Portis hasn't played since January 23rd due to a knee injury. Crowder joined the team via trade last week, though he hasn't played a game yet this season. Giannis Antetokounmpo will not play as he continues to recover from his wrist injury. Milwaukee going to end the game having won 12 straight.
For nearly 40 years, ABC of Wisconsin has been helping men and women transform themselves into well-paid, productive members of their construction teams. Today, we have 2,000 active apprentices in 10 different skilled trade programs, and we educate individuals in more trades than anyone else. To get your career started, go to buildyourcareerwi.org or just search online for ABC of Wisconsin.
Well, Aaron Rodgers has emerged from his 4-day darkness isolation retreat. That, according to ESPN, Rodgers did the retreat in Oregon, left the facility yesterday. Packers quarterback has yet to decide whether he's going to play another year or not. The team expected an answer prior to the start of free agency next month. With this Wisconsin Sports Zone Network update, I'm Zach Heil.
We're back. Good to have you. Glad we're back. Glad you're back. Glad we are all survived. Great white death. Now comes the wind and the cold for a day, and then we get into the weekend. I think the weekend's supposed to be pretty nice. They're actually calling for like rain in many of our areas early next week. So we're on the roller coaster as we creep in towards March. Oh, and this is the one thing that I always look to when it comes to March. Not only is it, the beginning of free agency in the NFL and all that kind of stuff, but I also think February is usually the worst month of all. The end of January into February through February is usually the worst of winter. And now we start to turn the corner. It's staying lighter past 5:30. Is it March or April when the clocks spring forward?
I think it's March.
Is it March?
And I only know that because that's when the Florida swing in golf really gets going. And the first couple events, the tee times are weird because they have to fit it in, so they send them out so early.
Okay.
And it gets normalized early in the Florida swing, which just started.
Okay.
So I think it's March.
Okay. I think it's March too. My grandmother used to always say we march forward. But I wasn't 100% sure. So anyway, that being said, but then we start getting longer days. Maybe it gets a little bit warmer, and once you get through March, like coming up this weekend, you got Brewers baseball. Brewers have their first spring training game. You start to think about it. You're driving past Miller Park. If you make your way into Milwaukee, you can see the lights on in the stadium, and you know what they're doing. They got the growing lights on. So they're bringing that grass back to life from dormancy. From the winter of dormancy, they're bringing it back to life. They're getting the stadium ready. They start cleaning everything all over again, blowing the dust off, wiping down the seats. And you think to yourself, okay, we're not far away. Granted, it still doesn't get real warm in the state of Wisconsin until at least the second week of June. We all know that. I have been to IndyCar races in the second week of June that have been rather cold. And usually the super bikes, which take place the end of May, beginning of June, like the first week of June, you get into Superbike week, and it's always a great week because you'd love to go see them run if you're into the motorcycle racing. And God, it's like every one of those weekends, it's always got rain and crap weather, and one day it'll be perfect, the next day it'll just suck. So you still got back and forth, but at least we've got some time. At least we've got some weather that we can get out of the house, and the snow's going to be gone. You start dusting up the outside, cleaning off the patio furniture, like here, it just makes you feel frigid right now to look at the tiki bar. And when you look out the window here, as I'm showing you now, and you look and you're like, oh, that sucks. And I got that patio set that has been lasted forever from Master Z's. I love that thing. But it's time to get a new patio table umbrella because that thing's starting to rip. It's been like 8 years, and you start cleaning stuff up and you're like, okay, I'm kind of getting back to normalcy. So once you get through February, it's like, here we go. I'm good with that. Meanwhile, Rick says, just cleaned up a boatload of snow in the Marshfield area. Quality heated gloves are worth buying. I hate to think of that. Okay, that being said, he went on Sirius XM radio, home of one Mike Clemens, and Alan Lazard talked about, the free agent process and the Packers.
I'm looking through all the criteria of, the workers, who's working upstairs, the relationship between the players that they have. It's this next place, I would like it to be somewhere I could see myself living for an extended period of time. So I would want to be heavily involved in the community and to be engaged with the organization as much as possible. So all things are being in consideration. Some places will have an advantage over others as far as whether the coaches or other players there, or maybe it's the climate and the weather and everything. So I'm just excited to see what all of my possibility options will be.
And they're the one team that can prevent you from actually hitting the open market. Have you had any conversations with them?
Yeah, my agent, I believe, has started to talk to them a little bit in recent weeks or anything, but they haven't said anything as far as preventing me from going to the open market.
You got any sense what Aaron's going to do next year?
I have just as good of a guess as you guys as far as what Aaron wants to do and what he's thinking. I think that's just kind of like the main thing that I've really kind of seen with him the past few years. Obviously, it's been a topic every offseason, but he truly doesn't know. And so, there's no way that you can really force a decision like this out of him before the time's ready, And I think he does a great job of kind of communicating that with his people, and everyone I think around him understands that. It's just, it'll be time, and there's no rush for it.
So there you go, Alan Lazard on Sirius XM radio. I'll tell you this, it certainly sounds like he's gone, right? I thought he said that pretty emphatically at the end of the season, during all of the, end of season, availability, talking with the media at his locker. I certainly thought that he sounded like he was gone, and he does there as well, but apparently there is some sort of interest. I agree with Andy Herman of the Pack a Day podcast, where they could sign him to a deal, or they could say, hey, go find your deal. We'll see if we want to match it. And because of the lack of high-end talent in the free agent market, that he just finds a Marquez Valdez Scantling type of deal where the Packers are going to be like, good for you. We'll talk to you later, So it certainly sounds like he's not going to be a part of the Green Bay Packers come next season. That's for sure. 870. You know what? Doesn't want to be here. Maybe he just doesn't want to be here. And that's very possible as well. 877-867-1670. 877-867-1670. David says he's just tired of being open and not being thrown to. That's a very good possibility, maybe. Just he has had some moments where he's running wide open down the middle of the field, and the quarterback has chose to lock on others, and thus we've watched games fall harmlessly to the turf. So I understand that, but he's going to go where the money is. He's talking about being involved in the community and making an impact and being charitable and such. And certainly you're out there doing the I'm the poster child for what is good about the sport and why I should be involved in a team somewhere. So, but it certainly sounds to me like he's gone. Just my opinion. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. If you want to hit us up, feel free. Again, 877-867-1670. This one is from Jason. This is Jason. Jason says, Hey, guys, I really don't want Lazard back. Is there anything that he does great? I'd rather save some of that money and find ourselves another guy, somebody we can maybe trade for who would be an impact player and then we could afford. Well, first of all, Alan Lazard's not making a ton of money. So it's not like if you don't bring him back, you've suddenly opened the team up to $20 million. He's making maybe a couple, and that's it. There's not much more there. So I don't think I'm going in that direction. But I still believe Alan Lazard would have a place on this team. What I found so frustrating was the fact that he was being touted by the quarterback as being this really good receiver. He's this, how did he, go through these other teams and, oh my God, we're so lucky to have him and he'll pick up the slack after Devontae's gone. I'm like, no. He was never that guy. He was never a high-end guy. And this is from David, who says, does the only way Aaron Rodgers come back is if they bring back all of his guys? No, because even Rodgers said, when all of that was stated on the Pat McAfee show, when he said, hey, he'd like to retire with Robert Tonyan and Mercedes Lewis and Randall Cobb and this and that, and he went through that list, that's kind of his wish list of guys that he would be able to keep around him. But even he said the next week that I'm not jumping up on a table with a demand that these guys come back. He was basically just waxing nostalgic, saying, I love these guys. I love playing with these guys. I love hanging out with these guys. These guys are good locker room guys. There's something to be said for the qualities they bring to the table. But even Rodgers backed off of that by saying, this is not my jump on a table and yell to the mountaintops that these guys I have to have back. Thomas says, you mean like the same thing when he was talking about Kumaro? Exactly. Now, the Kumaro thing was a little bit embarrassing. The Kumaro thing was Rodgers had just gotten done. This is where Rodgers had felt there was a disconnect with the front office. He had just gotten done praising Jay Kumaro about what he's done and how he's come on and how he's this key piece of the offense and kind of built him up. And then it was like, really, Aaron? Okay, well, they just cut him. And he was kind of embarrassed. That's when he was like, hey, look, if you're going to cut somebody, at least let me know. But then again, it's a double-edged sword, because if Aaron's a guy that's having personnel decisions of any type in that locker room, talking to the general manager about who he likes and he doesn't like. And if you've got to, not only do you got to please your coaches, but now you got to please 12. Because remember, for a while there, when Mike McCarthy was the head coach towards the end, the rookies were being looked at by 12 to do one thing and McCarthy and the offense to do another. So McCarthy could turn around and say, this guy doesn't even want to listen to me, and they could get rid of him. Or if he doesn't please Rodgers could say, I'm not going to throw the ball to this guy. I can't trust him. And he's gone. So it's not the best of situations to have your quarterback can give you knowledge in the sense of, yeah, this guy's pretty good. Let me tell you what his attributes are. Or this guy just doesn't, he doesn't turn on the ball well. I've thrown him numerous, he doesn't get it, that type of thing. Okay, that I understand. But to say, no, I don't want this guy around. I'm not going to work with this guy. And then suddenly that's a decision being made by the front office to cut a guy, or by the coaches to sit a guy because the quarterback doesn't want to work with him. I don't necessarily agree with that either. Tom says, hey, Bill, from Minneapolis in the airport, headed to Phoenix. Nice. David says the Packers are in the midst of a rebuild, and 12 said he didn't want to be a part of a rebuild. They're not in a rebuild. What are they rebuilding? Their offensive line is stable. Their defensive front just needs another piece. Their linebacking core now has some depth to it. They could use probably another for Rashawn Gary, but their secondary should be good. What are they rebuilding? There's no rebuild here. Thomas says, yep, you have to kiss his ass to see the ball. No, I think that there's, I'm not going to say kiss his ass. That's probably too strong of a term, Thomas. That's you need to say, you need to do everything you can to get on the same page with him. But, and I said this last year and I'll say it again this year, Aaron Rodgers cannot sit out and have everybody else coach the guys up and then walk in when you're experienced enough to be worthy of his knowledge to then come in and say, well, you're not on the same page with me when you're not even there. That's pretty poor. And he wants to poo-poo that for everybody that says, well, if you were here in the offseason, he goes, no, that's no. Yeah. Yeah, because you can't say you just had a quarterback that in the offseason got new players, lost his best wide receiver and said, no, I'm coming in early. I'm getting these guys together. We're going to get on the same page. He's taking them out to dinner. He's doing things with them away from the field. He's talking with them. He's understanding them, trying to get everybody to become this cohesive unit. And then, oh, by the way, by the time they got to the field, they were all over it together. They had that chemistry. They had that camaraderie, and they went on to win a Super Bowl. And they had Kelsey. Beyond that, they didn't have a whole bunch of unbelievably dynamic pass catchers. He just spread the ball around and trusted the guys that he had. And Patrick Mahomes won a championship. You can't look the camera anymore and the fan in the eye and go, no, we'll have Cobby coach him up. You can't do it. That's a poor way out of it. I think right now, if you want to call it, it's not a rebuild. I think it's adding some pieces to accentuate what you have. And I don't think this team is as far away as everybody thinks, nor do I think that they're this, front runner for a Super Bowl. But I certainly think they're a piece or two away from getting back to the postseason. And some better play. Quite honestly. 877-867-1670. Agree or disagree? 877-867-1670. Hit us up. More of the Bill Michaels Show next.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Everywhere you look, from groceries to utilities to gas, prices keep going up. Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin can dramatically help lower your energy costs year-round by replacing drafty windows and doors in as little as 6 weeks. And now you can save even more by taking advantage of 0% interest for up to 48 months when you lock in your prices by February 28th. I'm Gina Della from Pella. Bring the love of Wisconsin's outdoors in through the beauty and quality craftsmanship of Pella Windows and Doors. Whether you're updating or upgrading the look and comfort of your home, Pella has extensive lines of customizable options to meet your needs and your budget, no matter the season. Replacing drafty windows and doors can dramatically lower your energy costs. Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin offers some of the most energy efficient windows in the industry, designed to keep the cold outside where it belongs. Lock in your prices by February 28th and get 0% interest for up to 48 months. Visit PellaWI.com.
Restrictions apply.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Email from a buddy of mine, Derek, who lives out near La Crosse in West Salem, actually. He said, hey, Bill, went over to Buzzer Billy's the other night for the Mardi Gras party. Fantastic food. My wife and I went upstairs. He said you were 100% correct regarding the Snickers Martini. Have been to Buzzer Billy many times, never been to the Starlight Lounge. A lot of fun. The manager was really gracious to us. We dropped your name. He said, yes, I know Bill. I met Bill and his girlfriend, Kristen. Good people. So he said, thanks again for the suggestion. Just every now and then you don't think about it and it's in your own backyard. We had a chance to be downtown La Crosse. So we thought, what the hell? Let's go. It was worth the money. There you go. Great. Derek, thank you so much. And Derek is a buddy of mine. He actually is a rider out there. I see him every now and then over at La Crosse Harley Davidson. So he's a good dude. But Derek, man, good for you. Buzzer Billy's great place. Love that place. As a matter of fact, just talked to Heather out there, the general manager, a couple of days ago. I was talking to her. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. You want to find us, go ahead. David says, look at the average age of the quarterbacks in the playoffs this year. Okay. Look at him a couple of years ago. At the age of 44, Tom Brady won the Super Bowl. I mean, a lot of the older guys have retired or they were hurt. A guy like Matthew Stafford was banged up. Derek Carr was released. Aaron Rodgers, 2 years ago, Aaron Rodgers was in the postseason. Had the best record in football, by the way, going into the postseason. Matthew Stafford won the Super Bowl. So what does that mean? I think we want to just look at it to justify our desire to do something. But that age barrier, once Brady was winning Super Bowls, Manning won a Super Bowl, Favre over the age of 40 was taking the Vikings to an NFC championship game. Rodgers creeping in on 40 the year before, had the best record in football and had home field advantage. You act like if you get to over the age of 30, you're dead and like it's going back to that. And it's not. It's not. As a matter of fact, teams are committing more money and more years than ever to quarterbacks, to aging quarterbacks. I get it. This year was an anomaly. I understand that. But I'm not just throwing them out. Because if that's your philosophy, then at the age of 33, you'd gotten rid of Tom Brady. Right? 34? 36? What's the cutoff? I think the cutoff is when the talent isn't there anymore. And Michael says, well, yeah, look what happened to Brady. Michael, he's 45. Michael, he's 45. You can't be that dumb. He's 45. Yeah, he had a drop off. One of the oldest guys to ever play. I think Adam Vinatieri went till he was close to like 47 or something like that. There's been a couple of guys that have hung around till close to 50. But he was 45. That You can't even win that argument. You actually hit enter. You can't do that. I mean, what it does prove, it's not a trend. Here's what the trend is. Okay, David. The trend is, short of Patrick Mahomes, which, by the way, Patrick Mahomes won the Super Bowl. But the trend is that you've got these quarterbacks, Joe Burrow, Jalen Hurts, these young guys that are still on rookie deals. So when you can get a whole team to come together at once, that's young, they grow together, their talent emerges, you pick up a couple of free agents because you can afford it, and you've got a good young quarterback on a rookie deal, or not making, more than 10% of your team's total salary cap, you can win a Super Bowl when you got a talented guy. That's what that says. Other than that, that doesn't say anything more than that. It's the same philosophy that's been going on for a long, long time. Look at it in reality. Can Rodgers win? Let's do this then. Let's take it the opposite way, David. Let's say Rodgers comes out of the darkness and says, I just wasted, I don't know, let's just say $10,000. I just wasted $10,000 sitting in a room for 3 days. A very stark, dark, dank room for 3 days. And then his realization is, I have too much freaking money. What I don't have is another Super Bowl. So he throws complete caution to the wind and says, you know what? I want out of my contract. Tear it up. I'll sign off on it, tear it up. This year, I want to play for $5 million. What? What? That's it, $5 million. I'm giving back $25 million. Suddenly you go from a deficit of under the cap or over the cap by $8 million to now you're 13, 15, 18 million over or under the cap. You've got money and you're going to redo some contracts. Suddenly you go from a team that has, maybe a total of 10 million to spend to now you've got 30 million to spend. And you can go out and get anybody. So Rodgers, at the age of 40, plays on a team that picks up, they make a trade for DeAndre Hopkins. They have Christian Watson. They got Romeo Doubs. They bring back, they signed Juju. They got Juju, DeAndre, Christian Watson, this and that. Plus they draft Mayer in the first round. They've got two good tight ends in him and Tanyan. Their offensive line is solidified. They pick up another draft choice that gives them a little depth. Oh, by the way, we still have some money to spend. Let's go get an edge rusher. Help out Rashawn Gary. We'll work him in a rotation. Or a big defensive lineman. Okay, suddenly your defensive front. We'll bring in Ndamukong Suh for 1 year. Linval Joseph for 1 year. Those guys are back out on the free agent market. Let's bring them in for 1 year. Somebody just nasty. Somebody we hate. But we love to hate because we'd love it if they were on our team and stomping on other people. Let's go get some ankle biters, right? Let's go get that rolling down the hill ball of knives, right? Let's go get that guy. Is Aaron Rodgers now too old to win? Think about that. No. Because then you would be, first of all, your green and gold Zubas would be fitting tight, and it would be the tent that Ben looks as if he's going to camp in. Because you'd be just giddy out of your mind.
I camp in good tent.
If that happens, then no, age doesn't matter. If he's making $5 million and he's giving it back and he wants legacy and says, let's go kick some ass, age doesn't matter. You'd be out of your mind. We'd be hiring bands to play outside of Lambeau Field from today until the opening of the season. And we'd be running around throughout the state wearing just, green and gold Zubas and cheeseheads and go out be running out of every type of facility everywhere who sells them, and anything green and gold we'd be buying up, and those Green Bay flags would be flying out of car windows. And because you're on your way to a Super Bowl. Why? Yeah, because we got one of the best quarterbacks in the league who's committed to coming back. Team has money to spend. Goody's going to have a good draft. We're all in, right? I know it's crap. But so my point to that story is that you say, well, is it coincidence that they're all young? No. But if you play by the scenario I just gave you, age has not a damn thing to do with it. It's all about the money. You find a good quality guy, and then how much you spending on that good quality guy. You find that one guy that can lead your team, that can help your team, and can you get him on the cheap for a while so you can build a team around him? It's like you look at now Brady you throw out because Brady never really took a ton of money, and him and Belichick just set the bar too high. They just went crazy. But for the most part, you look at every quarterback that's gotten paid. You never saw him in or winning a Super Bowl again. Patrick Mahomes is the first one to do it in the modern Super Bowl era. Give him credit. Him and Andy Reid, they figured it out. Give him credit. 100%. He's kind of the new standard now. But even Patrick Mahomes, you look at the upcoming seasons, if they don't do something with that salary, he's going to be well over 20% of his team's total salary cap. And more guys are going to go. And that's what it is. He'll still be viable. He'll still get to the postseason. But they're always going to be a piece or two, an injury or two away from actually making it because the weakest link is your strength. That's it. 877-867-1670. Think about that. 877-867-1670. Stay tuned. More of the Bill Michaels Show next.
Ready? This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
They say the sky's the limit, but why stop there? This February at Potawatomi Casino Hotel, you can reach for the stars. Each Thursday night, if the stars align, you could reach for a piece of $400,000 in cash and prizes. Just play with your club card to earn entries 3 times on drawing days. Your win is written in the stars. Just play to find it. Only at Potawatomi. Visit paysbig.com/stars for more. Must be 21 years old and a club member to play.
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
On this weekend, I'll tell you what you should be doing. If you are going to do anything, head downtown to Waukesha, 323 West Main Street, The Nice Ash. Now, it's not for a fish fry. They're not serving food. But if you're just going to go relax this weekend, you know, we've been through a lot. We've been cooped up. We had the end of the world came. Ice, snow, wind, rain, crap, all relax. Have a nice bourbon, beer, hookah. Listen to music, catch some sports, whatever. Nice Ash. TheNiceAsh.com. As they say, get your ash in here. Go to TheNiceAsh.com. That's TheNiceAsh.com. 877-867-1670. Greg says, Bill, you certainly hit the nail on the head. The Packers could indeed go to another Super Bowl if Rodgers accounted for much less of the team's total cap hit. Absolute greed, selfishness on Rodgers' part has stopped this team from winning another Super Bowl. Brady's legacy will always be winning. And he goes on from there. And you know what? Remember, he said Brady's legacy will always be winning. Rodgers will always be about the MVPs and how much money he made. Remember when Rodgers was talking about Tom Brady? And he said, you know, hey, he said, boy, Tom's all football. Talking to Tom, man, Tom's all football all the time. Tom's all, you know, and I've got other interests. Well, that's great. And everybody should. It's whatever relaxes you or puts you in a good headspace. Tom Brady just happened to be in a good headspace when talking about football. Football. You know? So, and Brady was also a guy that while on the field screaming and yelling at his guys, off the field never finger pointed and never even came to that line, so to speak, as far as I can remember. Now, maybe he did. I didn't cover him every day, but Brady, you know, took a lot of it on himself. You know, we got to get better. I got to do this. I got to do that. You know, he always started with I. Rodgers did this year. Rodgers took more accountability this year than he ever has, in my opinion, and than he ever has in the past. Way more accountability this year. Way more. Big time. 877-867-1670. If you got something to say, bring it. Would love to hear from you. Again, 877-867-1670. Hey, don't forget our friends over at Epoxy Flooring Done Right. Epoxy Flooring Done Right. They are going to be at the World of Wheels this weekend. So if you are looking to do your garage, make it cool, make it badass, or your gym, like I did with my basement and the gym that I have here in the house, yeah, make it badass. Go with the epoxy flooring, and he's based right here in the state of Wisconsin. Get a hold of our buddy Sean, 262-443-2852, 262-443-2852. Make sure you see Sean at the World of Wheels this weekend. That's taking place down in Milwaukee, as the car show, the auto show is going on, but the World of Wheels is happening too. I think the World of Wheels is actually at the Wisconsin State Fair Park at the Expo Center. But go in and tell them hi. Go in and tell them hi. Good stuff over there. Purple Lilac says there's a right way and a wrong way to get employees and players to get better, and that was not the right way. Talking about Rodgers, how he criticizes young receivers and such, and his coach. They say you got to keep it in-house. The other argument is about, Christian Watson. We're going to get into this all throughout the offseason, even more so. But, and I know I've always said if you're not getting better, you're getting worse in the NFL. But I really believe that while this team, as it sits here today, may not be a Super Bowl team, what I really believe, though, is they're not far away from being a really good football team. I really believe that. You've got a good secondary. I think Joe Barry mishandled and mismanaged the defense last year. I really do. I think philosophically speaking, guys didn't buy in. Some guys went rogue. We know that. Some guys went rogue. And I think once everybody got on the same page and they started talking at the end of the season, things got a lot better defensively speaking. I think the offense lacked an identity big time. And they need to find it this year. I think part of it was the problem with the thumb, but I also think part of it is the offensive line was a mess. It starts up front. It was, will he or will he not play? And then how much of a pitch count is Bakhtiari on? Elton Jenkins coming back from the ACL. The right tackle position was never solidified. Josh Nijman was playing back and forth. It wasn't until Zach Tom really got there the last few games that it got, kind of stabilized, but it still wasn't solidified, so to speak. So I think the line will be better. The run game, we know what it is. Robert Tonyan had an off year and did not look as good coming back from the ACL. This is going to be a year in which he's had the whole offseason now to recuperate from the recuperation. I think just through that, it'll get better. I think the biggest question marks to me are still safety, finding another tight end, getting another wide receiver, drafting another wide receiver or two. And I think it would just be, to me, as much this year of coaching. You talk about Quay Walker, Devontae Wyatt, Romeo Doubs, Christian Watson, Samori Toure, all taking that next step, right? And then after that, it's coaching. I think Matt LaFleur lost it perceptually. Now, whether I know that for a fact behind closed doors, I don't. But to me, he looked soft. He made some bad decisions, some bad play calling. And he looked like a softer coach, like he was taking it. And Joe Barry, philosophically speaking, for 2/3 of the season, just had his head in his rear end. I don't know how else to put it. And then finally it started to come together at the end. And then the one loss they absolutely positively needed to have turned out to be their detriment. Had they won a couple more of those games with a little bit better coaching and a little bit better play and a little more cohesiveness early on in the season, you're looking at a team that goes to the postseason versus sitting at home. So I think there's more to this that's there than isn't. They just need some pieces to take them over the top. That's kind of where I'm at. I know some of you think I'm an idiot and a nut, but that's where I'm at. Now, I depending on what happens with the quarterback, I could always adjust my expectations for the upcoming season, but that's, as of right now, if Rodgers comes back and he's fully committed, then I'm thinking this team, let's start with 10, 11 wins and go from there and find themselves in the postseason. Just my take. When we come back, it's that time. It's that time. Ben Kenny stars in the segment called What Did We Miss? Stay tuned. More of the Bill Michaels Show coming up next.
This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
everywhere you look, from groceries to utilities to gas. Prices keep going up. Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin can dramatically help lower your energy costs year-round by replacing drafty windows and doors in as little as 6 weeks. And now you can save even more by taking advantage of 0% interest for up to 48 months when you lock in your prices by February 28th. I'm Gina Della from Pella. Bring the love of Wisconsin's outdoors in through the beauty and quality craftsmanship of Pella Windows and Doors. Whether you're updating or upgrading the look and comfort of your home, Pella has extensive lines of customizable options to meet your needs and your budget, no matter the season. Replacing drafty windows and doors can dramatically lower your energy costs. Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin offers some of the most energy efficient windows in the industry, designed to keep the cold outside where it belongs. Lock in your prices by February 28th and get 0% interest for up to 48 months. Visit PellaWI.com.
Restrictions apply.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome back. Good to have you. I am getting ready to get out of here. Going to head up towards Pembine, Wisconsin, and the Four Seasons Island Resort. And if you, by chance, are looking for a place to go for the weekend, we will see you up there. We're looking forward to it. God, it's not only is it, I'm going to say, needed vacation-wise, so to speak, little weekend getaway, But, it's our anniversary, too. That's the other thing, which is always nice. So, but in addition to that, they have Mardi Gras going on this weekend, which is really cool. So if you're looking for something to do, place to go, check out our friends at Four Seasons Island Resort. Get a hold of our girl, Barb, up there, B-A-R-B. Get a hold of Barb. Call Barb. Say, Barb, we need a room. 715-938-5110. 715-938-5110. Before we get to what did we miss, a guy named Michael. I don't want to go much deeper into it. We were talking about the motels a little bit earlier, a motel with a certain number that you could actually name it. He stayed. He was going to shoot some games, working on the chain gang and videotaping and such, high school football games in the area.
Oh, record games.
Yeah, to record games.
Shoot some games.
Well, shoot games. They call it. No. They shoot games
Yes.
as far as like videographers. And he said he was talking to some of the. He said it was a little bit of a weird place. This motel that he stayed in, because we were talking about that earlier. He said
Motel 6.
Ben throws it out there. A little bit of a weird place. And he said he gets to the game the next day and was talking to some of the guys that were around him. He said, yeah, one of the guys is a police officer. He says, yeah, whenever we have an issue, the parole officer always says, go to the motel and you'll find them. He said, that's where they all just kind of hang out and hide out. So he said, enjoy your day. So I just thought I'd throw that out there. Like I said, I stayed in a Motel 6 a couple of different times, and I've had terrific experiences. As long as it's clean, I got Wi-Fi, TV, and a shower, I'm happy. Place to lay my head, I'm happy. But there have been some less than stellar incidents that have gone on at those places. So there you go. Ben, Kenny, what did we miss today?
Oh, we're loaded today, Bill.
Are we loaded?
Did you hear that? I needed to start with the fact that you're off tomorrow.
I am off tomorrow. Ben Kenny is going to be the man.
With it. So it's myself and Grant Bills, but most importantly, Aaron Rodgers is obviously going to come out and announce his intentions for the future on the one day you've missed in the last couple months.
Yeah, I'm kind of thinking about that. That tomorrow will be the day he announces, and you'll be waking me up going, Bill, hey, what do you think? And then I'm going to be doing the show, via phone and some kind of, Facebook Live or something like that while I'm sitting poolside indoors.
At a Motel 6?
Not at a Motel 6. No, at a very nice Four Seasons Island Resort. So, yep.
I was going to say, I think they have pools at some of those motels, but they're never filled with water.
Well, there's a semblance of water.
It's just the concrete. I mean, at the Motel 6.
Yeah. No, there's a semblance of water. But yes, I am going to be. As a matter of fact, just retired at Four Seasons, so I'm going to be ruining that. Yeah.
Goodness. All right. Well, in my world, Billy Horschel, as we speak, leads a depleted field at the Honda Classic. One shot ahead of Pearson Cootie, who is he's on the Corn Ferry Tour, Bill. Big up and coming rookie. He's stellar. So he got a start this week, and he's one back here on this nice Thursday.
Pierce and Cootie.
Pearson
Cootie.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Remember the name for those that can't.
Right.
We actually haven't touched on this story at all. Have you seen all the stuff with Alabama and their basketball program?
Yes, I have.
So one of the players tied up in all of that scored 43 last night and had a game winner.
Yeah, if you go by his attorney, I don't know what to believe, because he was the guy that originally brought the gun to the guy that killed the girl. But he also said it wasn't his gun. He was just bringing it back to the guy that he had. But my argument is from the very beginning, if you're having a gun is not illegal, but if you're doing all of this, while it's not illegal, it's certainly outside of the realm of character. And the fact that basically Alabama said, no, he's done nothing wrong. He can play. Sure, no problem. There's something about this that just seems, to me, it just seems dirty. Does it not?
It seems very dirty. I must say it does not surprise me, given what I know about college athletics,
right?
Just in general. It's like everyone's surprised that he's playing. It's like, are you really surprised? They've They've gotten around
for this,
a lot of things.
For this, I'm a little surprised. For this, I will have to admit, I'm a little surprised. This guy brought the gun to the killer who shot, what was his girlfriend or ex-girlfriend or something like that?
I don't know exactly.
Yeah, he's the guy that brought the gun. And yet they said
rules.
He didn't do anything wrong. Yeah, there's something there that just doesn't smell right. And I get they're going to let the legal system play out. But to me, if you're involved in any kind of gun violence, whether it's a guy that now, there is the excuse of he didn't know the gun was in the car. It was in the trunk of the car. So he drove the car. He didn't know the gun was in the trunk. And that the guy that was the murderer actually then opened the trunk and got the gun. If that's the case and he didn't know, then it's honest. He's just like, holy crap, I didn't know that. I didn't know it was there. I didn't know they stashed it there. Because then he's just riding dirty and didn't know. But he brought it.
Messages.
Yeah, he brought the gun. He was the one that went back and forth. And didn't he say something about use slang for something that's in the heater or the chamber or something like that?
Correct.
Like basically saying, yeah, I brought it, and oh, by the way, it's loaded.
Yeah, there has to be a way to suspend it.
Right.
Like, there's no way that does not break rules.
Right. No, I agree with that.
Take away the law just of the basketball team. So
I agree.
That's going on, and that story's developing. On a lighter note, the Broncos hired Vance Joseph today as their defensive coordinator, returning where he was the head coach for 2 years, I believe. The unfortunate part is, Bill, no Rex Ryan in Denver. I wanted to see Rex Ryan in orange.
Yeah, I did too. I thought, I did too, because he would have looked, first of all, like a giant pumpkin with those bright teeth. It would have been a really odd look, for lack of a better term.
And closing, it was announced yesterday, Bill, there's actually a Netflix series, which the golf one came out, and I don't know if you watched it. And I'm clearly somewhat of a golf sicko. I loved it because behind the scenes golf, give me golf anything and I'll watch it.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought it was horribly done.
Really?
Being honest.
See, I told you I got rid of Netflix. I just was like, I'm done. The Netflix keeps raising their prices, and I'm about to do the same thing with XM Radio. But I thought, well, I'll wait for your review. And the fact that you say it's horribly done makes me go, yeah, I probably made the right decision.
It's not worth getting Netflix for, in my opinion, because there are massive storylines that could have been followed, and the way that they approached telling the story, let's say, of last year.
Right.
It's a documentary series. The way they approached it, I really disagreed with. I thought they left a lot on the table in terms of that. But there is a series coming out with Patrick Mahomes, Kirk Cousins, and Marcus Mariota. What do those three have in common? They're all quarterbacks.
They were all quarterbacks, yeah. I was just going to say they were all quarterbacks. I have to say
were
because Marcus Mariota is not anymore. You know, the one thing we didn't talk too much about was Christian Yelich dropping off the grid. But he says he's mentally, physically ready and in a better place than he's been in the last couple of years.
Bill. Best shape of his life.
Best shape of your life.
Added a pitch.
Yeah.
Oh, he's got more oomph on his fastball.
Right.
Can't wait. So, never swung it better.
Got more wood in his lumber. I like that. Yeah, there you go. How we looking? Yeah. All right, that'll do it for me. We'll be back on it on Monday. Ben will be here tomorrow. So I will go away. I will work on bettering the live stream. I promise you. And that'll do it. That'll do it. So I am heading to the Northwoods. Pembine, Wisconsin, and the UP. Time for us to head out of there. Until then.